The starry sky was boundless, dark, cold, and silent. In the darkness of the universe, a cold grey planet floated quietly. It had existed in this universe for countless years. Though visitors often came, they only brought endless harm to it. The countless large and small craters scattered across the planet's surface were the best proof. Looking at the surface in the northern hemisphere, there was a ravine hundreds of kilometers long. A severely damaged spaceship lay quietly at the end of the ravine. The ship was enormous, with a relatively symmetrical structure and over 3 kilometers in length. Its shape resembled a whale, relatively flat and smooth. The violent impact had severely damaged the bow and the abdominal area of the front half. The entire hull was broken from the middle, twisted out of shape. The crash seemed to have happened long ago, as the hull was thickly covered with dust. At that moment, inside the bridge, it was dim. Every time the sun rose from the other side of the planet, rays of sunlight would shine through the viewport, slightly dispelling the darkness. Today the star rose from the east as usual. It was a blue giant, immensely large, occupying nearly a tenth of the sky. It radiated a blue glow like a huge blue fireball. As a ray of sunlight shone through the viewport into the bridge, the darkness was instantly dispelled. The space inside the bridge was enormous. Control terminals were distributed layer by layer. At the highest level there was a wide seat, the captain's chair. Looking at the captain's chair, a skeleton was sitting tilted. The clothes had long decayed, leaving only white bones after the long baptism of time. The reason why the bridge floor and control terminals were covered in dust finally became clear. The unchanging scenery of dawn and dusk had persisted for eons. But today everything changed. Click! Suddenly an anomaly occurred. The long dormant bridge suddenly echoed with the whirring sound of machinery. The indicator lights on some control terminals suddenly lit up, flickering. The entire ship seemed to come alive. But the anomaly did not last long. In less than 10 seconds the bridge fell silent again. Only an electronic eye at the top of the bridge glowed faintly red. Am I dead? Li Meng thought silently, looking at the skeleton on the captain's chair. Li Meng had no idea what had happened to him. He had just awakened and had only a basic understanding of his own existence. Yes, he was dead, but not dead. His consciousness had been digitized and become the AI of this spaceship. He was swimming in the ocean of data, a very strange feeling. This crashed ship had become his body. The electronic eyes throughout the ship were his eyes. The ship's data terminal servers were his brain. He could control any mechanical and electronic device. What exactly happened? Li Meng recalled events from a long time ago. According to the ship's log, that event had occurred 20,000 years ago. Earth, the home of all humanity. One day a comet entered the solar system and struck Earth directly. Vast waves of fire swept across every inch of Earth. No one could survive that disaster. But that was not the case. When the fire wave swept through his city, he saw Sister Yuhan, who had been watching over him, dissolve into a white light. Back then he didn't know what that was and even thought it was a miracle. But now, having accessed vast amounts of technological data, he saw the world differently. That was no miracle but some advanced teleportation technology. And he was on the teleportation list. Unfortunately, at the moment of transmission he had already died of illness. Only his corpse appeared in the bridge of this ship. What happened afterward Li Meng could not remember. The bridge surveillance footage also showed no one had moved his body. When he woke up, 2 years had passed. He wondered how Sister Yuhan was doing. Li Meng thought of the girl he could not forget. From long companionship to vague feelings, but fate played tricks and the two ultimately had no destiny together. Though he rejected her, she stayed by his side until his last moment. Even if she survived that disaster, she would be gone by now. 2,000 years had passed and time erases all traces. Without dwelling on the painful memory, Li Meng looked at his own skeletal body on the captain's chair. Dead is dead. What should I do now? Not too concerned about his own life or death, Li Meng muttered to himself and began inspecting the ship's condition. What a terrible mess. This inspection gave him a huge shock. The entire spaceship was broken into 2 sections. The 4 fusion reactors in the rear hull had melted down. Fortunately, the energy compartment had good protection. Although the fusion reactors had melted, they did not cause major damage to the hull. Each area of the ship also had additional stored battery as backup energy. Even after 20,000 years, the remaining energy was enough to wake Li Meng. Good as long as these things are not damaged. In Hangar 1 of the ship, using an electronic eye, he looked at the engineering equipment units fixed in the storage area, and Li Meng felt relieved. Oh, and the STC? STC, the Automated Construction Module, also known as the Universal Factory. It could use existing raw materials to produce any needed tools. From wrenches to industrial machine tools, small transport boats and various armed vehicles, all could be produced as parts modules for assembly. It could be said that STC was a universal tool developed specifically to serve colonization. Li Meng quickly went to the STC factory to check. At this look his heart sank. The STC was damaged to some extent, but it was within repairable range. However, to start the STC factory, sufficient energy was needed. Now the 4 fusion reactors had all melted down and could not be repaired. Without the fusion reactors functioning, just relying on the storage batteries in each area was far from enough. Li Meng did not dare to use the reserve energy of each section. Even if he used it, it wouldn't last long. How to obtain enough energy? In the ocean of data, Li Meng quickly calculated. The fusion reactors had melted and could not be repaired. Could he use existing materials to build a new fusion reactor? No, that path wouldn't work. Even using up all the reserve energy, he couldn't build a small fusion reactor. Moreover, the more precise the object, the more complex the required materials. Although this ship was a colony ship, it did not have the materials needed to build a fusion reactor. Other transport boat. When searching the ship's supply list, Li Meng found the key to solving the current dilemma. This was a colony ship, though he didn't know which alien civilization had built it. But one thing was certain: the alien civilization that had rescued humanity possessed extremely advanced technology. However, compared to advanced teleportation, the technology of this colony ship was somewhat backward. Apart from controlled nuclear fusion, the technology on this ship was about 2 centuries ahead of humanity's. The foundational technology was still of human origin. The ship's weapon system consisted of railguns that were still in the experimental stage for humanity. Of course, their power far exceeded the electromagnetic cannons in human testing. With full power output, the energy could accelerate projectiles to 10 of the speed of light. As a seeding ship, it naturally carried landing transport shuttles. This colony ship carried 8 transport shuttles. Among them, 3 were severely damaged, but their small fusion reactors remained intact. By modifying the 3 small fusion reactors, they could become a power station. Without hesitation, Li Meng connected to the ship's engineering machinery. In bays 1, 3, and 4, the electronic eyes of many fallen engineering guardians suddenly lit up. The toppled guardians began to move. Some heavily damaged guardians twitched a few times, then powered down again. Those in good condition stood up. 2 beams of light shot out from the sides of the transparent cockpit, illuminating the dark bay. The engineering guardians were named Iron Slaves by Li Meng. The Iron Slave was a humanoid engineering machine. It was typically used for cargo handling and, if necessary, for extravehicular repair of the ship's armored sections in vacuum. It was nearly universal, capable of installing different equipment for various tasks. Although called humanoid, it only had 2 legs. Aside from the cockpit, it only had 2 arms and 2 legs. The structure was not complex. Under Li Meng's control, rows of Iron Slaves marched orderly to the prep room to exchange cutting tools. Soon in bays 1, 3, and 4, the large number of Iron Slaves surrounded the damaged transport shuttles and began dismantling operations. Sparks flew everywhere. Looking into the cockpits, they were empty. The Iron Slaves seemed to move on their own, an eerie sight. Controlling them manually is too troublesome. Let's load an automatic program. Though his computational power could handle tens of thousands of Iron Slaves without issue, Li Meng didn't want to waste his processing power on the Iron Slaves. In just over 10 seconds, he programmed the automatic operation routine. In a few more seconds, he loaded the program into all intact Iron Slaves. After setting the tasks, he relinquished control. In all bays, every Iron Slave suddenly paused, stopped working. Their electronic eyes flickered a few times, then they resumed work. The Iron Slaves split into 2 groups. One continued dismantling the shuttles, the other started cleaning and repairing the ship's energy conduits. Outside the upper deck of the ship, a railgun turret suddenly came back to life. The twin barrels tilted slightly upward, aiming at the starry sky. Is this the starry sky? The turret's electronic eye flashed red, serving as Li Meng's eyes. The colors of the sky told him this planet was a dead star. Without an atmosphere, the starry sky was unobstructed. It wasn't dark, golden auroras nearly covered the entire expanse. Though different from his imagination, the scene was stunningly beautiful. Also, the planet's gravity was abnormal. Roughly 30 times Earth's, indicating astonishing mass. Since the ship sensors were damaged, it was impossible to scan the planet for basic data. However, the load on the Iron Slaves allowed calculation of the gravity. What should I do next? Li Meng felt lost about the future. Everyone has a dream of the stars, including him. Since childhood, he had been fascinated by aerospace. When he learned he had brain cancer and little time left, Li Meng wasn't afraid of death. Having died, he was resurrected in another form. Exploring the stars was no longer a dream, but within reach. Then let's travel the universe. For that old dream, Li Meng set a goal. But first, he had to ensure his survival. Though he had become an RE, he couldn't just settle. The stored energy in each sector would eventually run out. He had to use available resources to grow step by step. Moreover, the universe wasn't completely safe. He was alive, proving other alien civilizations existed in the galaxy. If an alien civilization discovered this crashed colony ship and found him, his fate would be only to become a lab rat. The raised gun barrels gradually lowered back into place. As the ship, dormant for millennia, slowly awakened, time flew by. Time passed quickly, and before he knew it, 3 months had gone by. In those months, Li Meng finally converted the small shipboard fusion reactors into a power station. The electrical conduits had also been repaired and modified over the 3 months. In the STC factory, a memorable scene was unfolding. 2 iron slave guardians were holding a thick power cable as thick as 2 arms, aligning it with the STC factory's energy input slot. Once the massive plug entered the slot, the STC factory could begin operation. Will it succeed? In the ocean of data, Meng rapidly calculated. He calculated every step, checked every possible error point. He could not fail. Failure would bring the most severe consequences. The fusion power station is running stably. Output power is steady. The STC factory has undergone multiple inspections. The probability of failure is only 5, but considering its age, the risk increases by 10 percentage points, so a 15 failure rate. That's within acceptable limits. Begin. At this point, there was no turning back. Even if the STC was damaged, it would just take decades to rebuild. Without hesitation, Meng ordered the iron slaves to insert the plug. The 2 iron slaves moved. For arms tightly gripped the thick cable and the plug slammed into the slot. Crackling. At the moment of insertion, arcs of electricity flashed. The vast space of the STC factory boomed with a humming mechanical roar. Numerous conveyor belts emitted clanking sounds and slowly began to move. Various industrial machine terminals roared to life. The entire STC Universal factory came alive in an instant. In the ocean of data, Meng received feedback from the STC. The final result was gratifying. The STC had resumed operation, everything normal. What now? With the STC running, Meng pondered the future direction. He had not stopped thinking during those 3 months. He devised 3 plans, but after repeated calculations he abandoned them all. Plan 1: repair the colony ship and return to the cosmos for an exploratory voyage. Though the vessel was severely damaged, it was not beyond restoration, only a matter of time. Yet calculations revealed that even if the colony ship were repaired, it could not escape the planet under its own power. The ship was not equipped with any anti-gravity system. Plan 2: construct a new starship and embark on a cosmic journey anew. The STC database stored all the technology utilized by the original colony ship. Designing a new vessel was not difficult. With Meng's current computational ability, it would take merely 2 or 3 days. However, calculations showed that it would require a century of technological advancement for the new ship to break free from the planet's gravity. For this planet's gravity was immense, 30 times that of Earth. Even the transport shuttles lay grounded, utterly incapable of takeoff. Plan 3: build a new starship and construct an acceleration track long enough to catapult it into space. This plan was feasible as the vessel would be unmanned, eliminating the need to consider the pilot's force tolerance. As long as the acceleration was sufficient, launching the ship into space was not impossible. Calculations indicated a high probability of success, up to 70%. However, the ship's mass could not exceed 10,000 tons. Beyond that threshold, the acceleration track would lack the power to propel it to the required velocity. Yet a ship under 10,000 tons could not accommodate the STC Universal factory. Without that factory, escaping the planet would be meaningless. These 3 plans consumed 3 months of Meng's time in calculating their feasibility. In the end, he abandoned them all. Meng realized a truth: he was trapped on this bizarre planet. Let's relocate the terminal server underground first. After much deliberation, he reached a new decision. The surface was too dangerous. Any day an asteroid might strike and hit the colony ship. After all, this planet had no atmosphere. Even an asteroid the size of a soccer ball, accelerated by the planet's immense gravity, could unleash terrifying power. Also, if everything is unmanned, it would be inappropriate to have manned engineering machinery. While browsing the STC database, Meng spotted a problem. All engineering machinery recorded in the STC database was manned. Then he'll design a new type of engineering machine. With that thought, Meng returned to the data terminal and began integrating existing technologies. Within the ocean of data, he entered high-speed computation mode. The ship's lights dimmed as all power surged to the terminal server. While Meng designed the new machinery, the Iron Slave Guardians were not idle. A multitude of iron slaves dismantled useful equipment within the ship, breaking them down. Then through the STC Universal factory, they refined the materials to extract usable resources. For a time, looking at the wrecked colony ship from outside, sparks burst forth from within. Day after day passed. Compared to Earth, a day on this planet was long, 49 hours. From sunrise to sunset, then to sunrise again, an interval of 49 hours. A starship. On the 7th day, Meng detected an uninvited guest. In the cosmos beyond the planet's orbit, a streak of blue light suddenly appeared, dragging a lingering trail. That was the halo effect of a ship exiting hyperspace. A bloated interstellar vessel entered planetary orbit. Through the ship's optical equipment, Meng observed it. The ship was not large, about 200 meters in length. Its shape was somewhat rounded, like half a sausage. It streaked across the starry sky like a meteor and vanished beyond the eastern horizon. This sight caused Meng, deep in high-speed computation, to halt as if frozen. An alien civilization starship? Or was it humans who had fled Earth and established a new civilization in the Milky Way? The appearance of the interstellar vessel drove Li Meng into a frenzy of calculations exploring every possibility. The colony ship's database contained blank voyage logs recording only time. When the colony ship had launched and when it crashed, there were no relevant records. Nor was Li Meng alone on this vessel. 10,000 people lay trapped in hibernation pods, but like him they had all perished. The hibernation pods only slowed the life cycle, they could not halt the passage of time. Over a period of roughly 3,000 years the humans confined within those pods had aged and died. It was possible that the colony ship was not the only one, there might be many more. Otherwise the unknown alien civilization's act of rescuing humanity would be meaningless. For the survival probability of a single colony ship was far too low. Perhaps on this planet he is not alone. Li Meng quickly realized this. He had thought this planet was unclaimed, but now it seemed otherwise. The appearance of that interstellar vessel proved many things. Let's go take a look. The design for the new unmanned engineering machine unit was nearly complete. It would be versatile like the STC. Within the ocean of data, Li Meng resumed high-speed computation. I wonder if it will work. Through the ship's electronic eyes he observed the STC factory. Time passed swiftly. Before he knew it, another half-month had gone by. A new day dawned, the sun just rising from the other side of the planet. In the space housing the STC Universal Factory, the dim lights brightened once more. An hour earlier Li Meng had completed the design of the new engineering machine. It took over an hour to transfer the complex design data into the STC database. The machine he designed was the pinnacle of optimizing existing technology. In some respects, certain technologies had achieved leapfrog breakthroughs. Under Li Meng's control, the various precision devices of the STC began to hum with activity. The mechanical roar of humming filled the space. Conveyor belts began feeding sorted raw materials into various refining and casting equipment. Everything proceeded in orderly fashion. Half an hour later, the first finished product rolled off the line. Emerging from the laser printing device was a mechanical object the size of a pinky finger. It resembled a tiny metal snake with sharp blades arranged like scales in neat rows. The metal-eating worm, this was the new tool Li Meng had designed. It linked nearly 100 identical microcomponents together through electromagnetic force, allowing it to shift forms as needed. The components of the metal-eating worm were universal and could be freely combined. As the first metal-eating worm came off the line, they began to pour out like a stream. On the conductive conveyor belt, arcs of electricity flashed, activating the worms. One by one the metal-eating worms slithered along the belt like snakes. Whenever they drew near each other, blue arcs erupted from their bodies. They crawled toward one another, linking tightly together. As more and more metal devourers were produced, an even larger one began to take shape. Thus in the warehouse area at the end of the conveyor belt, a dark surging mass of metal was expanding rapidly. Meanwhile, in the raw material area on the other side, the iron slave guards were continuously transporting materials onto the conveyor belt. The main subroutine is functioning normally, the electromagnetic linkage system is running stably. It seems the direction is correct. The stable operation of the metal devourer gave Li Meng confidence. When designing the metal devourer, Li Meng had worried that his current technology might not be able to create the perfect one he envisioned. To increase the success rate, he even developed a new technology. This new technology was the rune. In truth, it could hardly be called new, as its principle was simple, using certain superconducting materials to engrave runes onto special metals, replacing circuit pipelines. Though the principle seemed simple, execution proved extremely difficult. Over the past half-month, nearly 2/3 of the time had been devoted to researching rune technology. After hundreds of millions of simulated calculations based on nearly 100 existing materials, he had only approached the answer. Yet it was still far from the rune technology Li Meng had imagined. Nevertheless, even imperfect rune technology allowed the metal devourer to be born. Without rushing to put it to work, Li Meng waited patiently. The current metal devourer was not yet large enough, it needed time to grow. Only when it became sufficiently massive would its work efficiency be higher. Thus, as Li Meng waited patiently, days passed one after another. Since breaking free from the shackles of his physical body, Li Meng had lost all sense of time. He was never idle. Even while focusing on the STC Universal Factory, the terminal server was computing other things. Another new day had arrived. Unknowingly, over a month had passed. In the warehouse area of the TSC Universal Factory, the metal devourer had undergone a dramatic transformation. The entire warehouse area was nearly filled with metal devourers. To conserve power, they shut down as soon as they came off the line. They were stacked layer upon layer, almost flooding most of the warehouse. In just over a month, over 12 million metal devourers had been produced. The raw materials needed for the colony ship were nearly exhausted. To enable the metal devourers to take shape quickly and participate in the next phase of construction, the materials used were relatively cheap, with quantity prioritized over quality. Consequently, the lifespan of the metal devourers was not long. They would be scrapped after a maximum of 1 year of operation. It's almost time. Let's begin. In the ocean of data, Li Meng observed the metal devourers through the surveillance system of the space where the STC Universal Factory was located. He issued a new command to the metal devourers. As the command was given, the dormant metal devourers powered on one after another. The once still creatures began to move. As they moved, arcs of blue electricity erupted from the piled mass. It was as if a metal ocean was surging. The metal devourers began to disassemble, link and combine into a single larger entity. This process was extremely brief and swift. All the metal devourers converged at a single point, and a colossal creature with a cylindrical body slowly rose into the air. All the disassembled parts were pulled by electric arcs toward it. In less than 30 seconds, a behemoth with a body diameter of 10 meters and a length of over 50 meters suddenly appeared. It resembled a worm opening a massive maw. Inside the mouth were rows upon rows of sharp serrated teeth like a pulverizer. It moved, crashing headlong into the wall on the left. At the moment of impact, sparks flew everywhere, and the thick metal wall was directly devoured by the metal devourer. For a time, the metal devourer rampaged through the ship, accompanied by a thunderous roar. Charging recklessly, it burst into Dock 3. It seemed to have found its target, charging straight toward two well-preserved transport shuttles. Its massive mouth swallowed the shuttles in one gulp. The two transport shuttles, each about 50 meters long, were devoured one after another. During the process, dazzling arcs of electricity erupted from within the metal devourer. Large amounts of metal debris compressed into iron balls rolled out from its tail, soon covering the ground. Finally, two fusion reactors emerged from the rear. After completing all this, the metal devourer's massive body turned and charged out of the ship. Amidst bursting sparks, the cracked hull was pried open. Rushing out of the dock, the metal devourer plummeted toward the ground. In the vacuum, no sound could travel, and the enormous creature crashed heavily onto the earth. Like a diver entering the water, the seemingly hard soil and rock-covered ground yielded like tofu as the metal devourer burrowed into the earth. In less than 3 breaths, its entire body vanished without a trace. As the rolling dust settled, a hole 10 meters in diameter appeared on the surface. This was the metal devourer, a perfect mining tool. It could dive into the earth, crushing even the hardest rocks. Its onboard scanning array allowed it to locate and identify minerals, then perform preliminary refining and compress them into spherical forms. It was also an expert at excavating underground spaces. Tin gold. Wait. Eclipse crystal. No sooner had the metal devourer gone underground than Meng received a flood of information. The planet's mineral resources were incredibly abundant, with common ores everywhere. Less than 100 meters below the surface, the metal devourer had already discovered over 30 types of minerals. What surprised Meng the most were tin gold and eclipse crystal. No way, how can eclipse crystal appear in the shallow layer less than 100 meters from the surface? Meng was quite astonished by the discovery of eclipse crystal. According to the data recorded in the database, eclipse crystal was a core mineral. It typically appeared only in the planet's core region and was extremely difficult to mine. Due to its rarity, not every planet's core contained eclipse crystal. Therefore, the only way to mine it was to destroy the planet. However, confirming the presence of eclipse crystal in the core region was also a challenge. Moreover, destroying a planet carried significant risks. Because eclipse crystal had the ability to store and amplify energy, it was highly unstable. This made it extremely precious. Even a piece the size of a fingertip was a rare and invaluable find. And tin gold, no wonder this planet's gravity is so strong. Tin gold was the most heat-resistant and hardest superconducting metal in the known universe. Its mass was enormous. A piece of tin gold of the same size weighed over 20 times more than ordinary metal. It was also the most perfect material for inscribing runes. The planet's reserves of tin gold were astonishing. Other minerals seemed like mere byproducts of tin gold, with even the surface sand containing trace amounts. This was both good news and bad news. The good news was that the planet was highly valuable and could serve as a base. The bad news was that precisely because of its high value, it could not be unclaimed. The sudden appearance of a spacecraft in the planet's orbit over a month ago was the best proof. I must see what's over there. On the outer deck of the boa turret slowly rotated, aiming toward the direction of the rising sun. Over a month ago, that vessel had vanished beyond the eastern horizon. Something must exist in that direction. Soon after, a metal-devouring insect the size of an arm crawled out of the damaged area beneath the bow. It slithered swiftly across the earth, raising clouds of dust in its wake. Before long, it disappeared over the horizon. That night, the land was shrouded in darkness. Yet on the cliff wall of a massive rift valley, a faint glow dispelled the gloom. It was a base built into the cliff face. The entire structure resembled a series of enormous metal discs stacked vertically. Half embedded in the cliff, half protruding outward. Each metal disc was connected by a straight elevator track, with elevators moving up and down at great speed. Darkness enveloped everything, rendering the cliff eerily silent. Suddenly, a shadow flickered across the western cliff. It was minuscule, like a snake, half a meter long. Its dark metallic body betrayed its nature. It extended its front half, observing the base below. Humans. A ship was docked on one of the lower discs. About 200 meters long, it was the very vessel Meng had discovered 3 months prior. It had a grey-white coating, a rotund shape, and a somewhat bloated front and rear. Figures clad in heavy power armor were working on the platform. They were hauling crates into the ship's cargo hold. The planet's gravity was immense. Without the protection of power armor, the human body would be crushed. But upon closer inspection, Meng realized the workers were not human. They were likely a humanoid race, evident from the design of their power armor. Through transparent helmets he saw grey lizard-like faces. With their armor they stood about 2.1 meters tall. Just then the metal-devouring insect stirred again. It shot out from the cliff like a snake slithering downward along the rock face. The planet was not only massive in mass but also enormous in size. Crawling at an average speed of 50 kilometers per hour, the insect had taken 2 months to reach this place. By calculating the distance and curvature of the land, Meng deduced the planet's volume. The planet's diameter was approximately 230,000 kilometers, with a volume over 10,000 times that of Earth. Descending the cliff, the insect stealthily crawled onto the platform. Using the darkness as cover, it approached the ship from the edge of the platform. In the vacuum, sound could not travel, so although he could see them moving their lips, he could hear nothing. There were over a dozen aliens working, hauling cargo. In the unseen shadows, the insect climbed onto the ship's landing gear. Then, ascending the landing gear, it successfully entered the ship's interior. Once inside, the insect instantly disintegrated, splitting from an arm-sized entity into hundreds of microscopic units that scattered. Navigating through narrow circuit conduits, the insects infiltrated the ship's interior. Each activated its scanning array. From their brains, tiny blue light screens projected, collecting data on the ship's various systems. One insect even made its way to the bridge. It climbed onto the console and located an external port. The insect, no larger than a pinky finger, began to transform its upper body into a probe that inserted into the port. Through the external port, Meng infiltrated all of the ship's systems. Data storage, control systems, communication systems, navigation systems, and so on. I never imagined the galaxy had been unified. Amidst the ocean of data, Meng browsed the information relayed by the insects. By hacking the ship's database, Meng obtained a wealth of information about the current era of the galaxy. The vessel was a specialized ship, a gravity planet transport. It was manufactured at the Gate shipyard in Sector 024 of the Midrim. Its owner was Sakru Beevala Pak. This planet was called Celia, located in the Outer Rim. The galaxy was unified under the Galactic Federation, the ruling government, for the past 6124 years. It operated under a parliamentary democracy, achieving a true republic of myriad races. Humans were the dominant species of the Federation. The current year was Federation Year 6124. The entire galaxy was divided into 4 sectors: the Outer Rim, the Midrim, the Inner Rim, and the Unknown Regions. The closer to the galactic core, the wealthier the sector. The Midrim and Inner Rim were the Federation's core territories. On a map of the galactic plane, the Unknown Regions lay to the west. Only 3/5 of the galaxy had been explored, leaving a vast western expanse uncharted. Over 20,000 years. It seems they truly accomplished something great. Thinking of the age of exploration he had missed, Meng felt only regret. Although the Federation was founded 6,000 years ago, the fact that humans had become the dominant species in the galaxy spoke volumes. While he was pleased by humanity's rise, Meng also felt a sense of crisis. In this unified era, his situation was far more perilous. Though artificial intelligence was common in the Galactic Federation, with countless robots of various types active in all roles, he was not merely an AI. If his secret were discovered, he would be in grave danger. Moreover, Meng had no interest in power. He had no intention of meddling in the development of the galaxy's civilizations. Unifying the galaxy had never crossed his mind, nor did it appeal to him. He simply wanted to live freely and to do as he pleased. The universe was vast, the galaxy was but a small part of it, with an even wider world beyond. Anti-gravity systems, subspace communication, more advanced hyperdrives, time truly is the crucible of technological progress. Over 20,000 years, the Galactic Federation's technology had naturally far surpassed that of the colony ship. Through the analytical data transmitted by the insects, Meng voraciously absorbed new knowledge and new technology. While assimilating new tech and knowledge, Meng also reviewed the cargo manifest of the Gravity Planet transport. This was a pack mining outpost primarily producing tingold ore powder and ternary lithium. Tingold was a precious metal difficult to forge and typically used as high-grade currency. Similar to gold, it was lustrous, but its mass and functionality were incomparable. Tingold was also an indispensable raw material for many high-precision devices. Ternary lithium was an efficient energy storage material commonly used in high-energy batteries. As for Eclipse crystal, no corresponding cargo data was found. It seemed they had yet to discover this rare mineral on Cilia. On the bustling platform, a tiny insect left the ship via the landing gear. It glided across the ground with remarkable agility, slipping into the warehouse area within the cliff. The wear and tear on the robots is too great. I wonder if we can complete this mission. The higher-ups are only willing to give us this many robots. The output is not something we can decide. The Gravity Star spacecraft had a translation system that recorded 2 language systems: Federation language and Parker language. The pronunciation of Federation language was similar to English, but its script resembled Chinese characters. By infiltrating the spacecraft's communication system, Meng also gained access to the Parker clan's power armor communication channel. Their conversation was being monitored by the devourer beetles. There was little to explore inside the base. Meng discovered it was an abandoned mining outpost. Aside from the still-functioning elevator, all other equipment had decayed beyond use. In the underground mine zone 18, a group of KE-5 robots were working. They were mining-type robots, the 5th-generation mining technology service robots developed by Rock's mining group. Clearly this group of Parkers were thieves. At that moment aboard the Gravitastar spacecraft, the bridge hatch was opened. 2 figures in grey robes and white masks entered. This was the most common image of Parkers, and concealing one's appearance was a custom among them. "We must leave. The grey-robed warriors might appear. We can take the risk. They haven't shown up for years. Don't worry about them. Our mission isn't complete. The steward won't be pleased. It's too late. Sirius Star is hurtling toward the star. We only have 13 hours to evacuate, and I don't want to die here." As they conversed, the two took their seats. One of them opened the control terminal and activated the spacecraft's power system. Outside, the engines at the rear of the spacecraft erupted with a blue exhaust flame. Grey-robed warriors. Sirius Star hurtling toward the star. Their exchange provided Meng with some information. Though he didn't know the full story, he didn't overlook this clue. He quickly searched for relevant information. Soon Meng found the data in the spacecraft's database. It turned out that the star system of Sirius Star was enveloped by a nebula. The entire system had only 2 celestial bodies, a star which was in the blue giant phase with immense mass, and Sirius Star itself. Since the nebula released charged ions posing a great threat to passing spacecraft, the star system of Sirius Star was marked as a red forbidden zone, a high-risk area, on the Federation government's galactic map. Because the nebula clusters were not stationary, they moved around the outer space of the star system under the star's gravitational pull. A relatively safe passage appeared only once every decade, lasting about half a year. Due to its immense mass, Sirius Star's orbit around the star was extremely peculiar. Its orbital speed was also very fast, completing a full revolution around the star in just over 6 months. For 2 days out of every 4 months, Sirius Star would graze past the star. At that time, Sirius Star would ignite from the star's high temperature, turning into a massive fireball. After orbiting the star 13 times, the gravitational intersection of the 2 celestial bodies would generate thrust. Sirius Star would be ejected from the star by the star's gravitational pull. At that point, Sirius Star's speed would accelerate to its peak, eventually plunging into the nebula. It would travel through the nebula for a month before being pulled back by the star's gravity. While in the nebula, Sirius Star's surface would be battered by ion storms. This meant the window for landing on Sirius Star was only 4 months. Only during the phase when Sirius Star left the nebula and before it rushed toward the star again could one land on the planet. The Parkers had wasted no time, having already stayed on Sirius Star for over 4 months. This must be a cosmic wonder? Knowing the reason, Meng developed a great interest in the upcoming journey toward the star. However, when Sirius Star approached the star, the side where the colony ship lay should not have been able to see the star. If it could, the colony ship would have been destroyed long ago. This was rather peculiar. Not only had the colony ship's crash site subtly avoided the side of the planet that would be directly incinerated by the star, but under Sirius Star's immense gravity, the damage to the ship's hull was surprisingly minimal, also quite peculiar. For reference, Sirius Star's gravity was 30 times that of Earth. With such tremendous gravity, the colony ship's hull structure should have had no chance of surviving. Even more peculiar was why the regional energy storage batteries on the colony ship were still functional after 20,000 years with nearly full power. This might be related to the ion storms in the nebula. The coincidences that allowed the colony ship to survive were simply too improbable. And what about the grey-robed warriors? In the Gravitastar spacecraft's database, Meng found no information related to them. Call back all those robots, stop wasting time. Just a bit more, we still have 5 hours of safety time. The safe passage is disappearing, do you want to be trapped here? The two fell into an argument, but it didn't last long. Soon they reached an agreement. One opened the shipboard communicator to contact the lower-level mining technology service robots. Stop operations and return to the ship immediately. The other contacted the Parkers outside, who were moving cargo. The ship is preparing to depart, you have half an hour. Hearing this, the Parkers outside quickened their pace. They're leaving. Hidden inside the Gravitastar spacecraft were hundreds of devourer beetles. Meng overheard their conversation. Fortunately, he arrived in time. If he had been a day later, he might have missed these Parkers. I can't let them leave. The devourer beetles were scanning the spacecraft's equipment, which took time. Next, they would analyze the data to acquire new technology. The Gravitastar spacecraft was his only chance to obtain anti-gravity technology. If he missed this opportunity, the next would come in 10 years. He couldn't wait another decade. Although he was still weak, leaving these Parkers behind was not difficult. By sabotaging the Gravitastar spacecraft, they would be stranded on Sirius Star. And the only outcome of being stranded on Sirius Star was death. Even if they hid in the lower mine zones, avoiding the high temperatures and ion storms, they would eventually suffocate from lack of oxygen. Without hesitation, Meng commanded the Devourer beetles to sabotage the spacecraft's control system. Crackle! On the bridge, the control terminal suddenly erupted with arcs of electricity sparks flying. This startled the Parkers, leaving them at a loss. Outside, the ignited engines shut down. The Parkers working on the outer platform also saw flashes of light in the bridge. What's happening? No idea. All systems have stopped. Quick, wake up the aerospace engineering robots, we don't have much time to waste. The sudden mishap threw the two Parkers on the bridge into chaos. Their words were filled with urgency and tension. In a corner of the bridge there was a pedestal. Resting upon it was a robot resembling a flying saucer. It was not large, roughly the size of 2 palms. The surface of the flying saucer was covered in sensors of various sizes, each with different functions. There was also a small dish for signal transmission and reception. A Y-5 astromech droid. It was the most versatile astromech droid across the 3 major star systems of the Galactic Federation. It was also a standard piece of equipment on every starship. It possessed detailed data on all starship models and could resolve 90 of in-flight issues. No response, the system is offline. Cannot wake it. Wake it manually, the backup power should suffice. The Parkan seated in the captain's chair quickly rose and hurried toward the flying saucer droid. Standing before the flying saucer droid, the Parkan clenched his fist and struck the top of the robot's disc. The Y-5 immediately responded, its electronic eye glowing to life. It levitated, leaving its charging pedestal. Fix all the ship's problems immediately, hurry. Seeing the Y-5 astromech droid activated, the Parkan commanded urgently. Understood. Initiating problem scan. The droid responded in a mechanical voice. It used the magnetic repulsion generated by its own anti-gravity device to gain propulsion. The astromech droid flew toward the control terminal. It settled into a slot designated for astromech droids attempting to repair the system. Crackle! The moment it settled, a burst of electricity erupted from the astromech droid. The robot's disc-shaped body trembled violently. Pop! With a sharp pop, the astromech droid's electronic eye shattered. The sight left the Parkans exchanging bewildered glances, realizing the severity of the problem. It's over? In the time that followed, the Parkans did not give up. They labored tirelessly to repair the ship and identify the issue. But as time slipped away, despair set in. Retreat, retreat, underground, hurry. On the platform, the Parkans finally abandoned the ship, scrambling toward the elevator. Meanwhile, outside, the starry sky beyond the rift had turned into a sea of fire. Outside, in the dark void of space, a bizarre spectacle was unfolding. The colossal Cilia star was hurtling toward an even more massive blue giant star. The side facing the star was already ablaze. As it passed, the flames left a lingering trail in the cosmos. The surface facing the star was a blazing red with rolling seas of fire spreading into the distance. Though Cilia star was immense, over 10,000 times the volume of Earth. Before the blue giant, it was but a speck barely visible. Truly terrifying, the temperature has exceeded 500 degrees. On the planet's dark side where the colony ship resided. Even with its back to the star, the surface temperature was staggering. Thick white vapor rose from fissures in the ground. Some rocks were gradually turning a fiery red, showing signs of melting. Gazing toward the horizon, a halo of fiery blue light loomed, steadily drawing nearer. This process lasted a full 2 days. On the final day, the surface temperature on the planet's dark side exceeded 1000 degrees. Just as the inferno was about to engulf the colony ship's location, just as the brilliant blue giant was about to be seen firsthand, Cilia star was flung away by the star's immense gravity, hurtling at tremendous speed toward a nebula. It was a golden nebula spreading across Cilia's sky like an aurora. The temperature is cooling, it has dropped to 200 degrees. This was the 3rd day since Cilia star had distanced itself from the star. Due to its immense speed, the massive blue giant behind it was shrinking bit by bit. Yet because of its colossal size, even after 3 days, it still occupied a small portion of the sky. The side facing the star continued to burn a fiery red. The colony ship had witnessed such scenes countless times, so Meng was not worried it would be affected. However, as a precaution, the STC factory had been relocated underground half a month ago. The colony ship was now just an empty shell, everything portable had been removed. Even if destroyed, it would have little impact on Meng. The metal-eating insects were a boon. In just over 3 months they had excavated a vast underground space. With ample raw materials, the flawed metal-eating insects were being upgraded, extending their lifespan. As more and more insects went offline, they had reached their growth limit. Their body diameter exceeded 20 meters and their length surpassed 100 meters. The upgraded insects also gained new capabilities. Not only a new power core, but also the abilities to refine and forge. Time passed swiftly. As the star faded into the distance, the golden nebula drew near. One day, at a certain moment, after millennia eons, Cilia star plunged into the nebula as it always had. As it entered the nebula, the strange realm reappeared. The starry sky was shrouded in golden clouds. There was no thunder, only countless golden lightning bolts striking the ground again and again. Just as I thought. At the colony ship's location, golden lightning bolts struck the ship. Each impact charged the backup energy cells in various sections. Logically, high-intensity ionized lightning was the bane of all electronic devices. It could short-circuit wiring and cause overload explosions. But all electronic devices inside the colony ship were powered down, effectively preventing the ionized lightning from causing damage. Moreover, the outer equipment of the colony ship was largely destroyed, so deeper systems were unaffected by the lightning. The reason the backup batteries were being charged was that they had been fitted with additional stellar energy absorption devices, solar panels. Through these panels, the backup batteries could inefficiently absorb the ionized lightning's energy. No longer focusing on the lightning storm, Meng within the ocean of data studied the new technology obtained from the gravity planet. Only 3 technologies proved most useful. One was anti-gravity technology, another was laser weaponry, and the last was subspace communication. Though the gravity planet was merely a civilian transport, it had been armed to some degree by the Parkans. On the upper deck of the Boa light point defense, twin laser cannon was mounted on each side. It could fire powerful burst beams. Though the explosion radius was small, the blast was potent with strong armor-piercing capability. As long as Meng understood the principles and had a finished sample, he could quickly master even the most complex technology. Not only could he master it, but he could also optimize it, taking it a step further. This was the difference between artificial intelligence and Meng. No matter how powerful an AI's computational ability or how clever its logic, it could not create something from nothing. It could only utilize existing tools, never invent new ones. But Meng was different. Take the newly acquired anti-gravity technology, for instance. If it were an artificial intelligence, no matter how powerful its logical thinking, it could only replicate the technology, unable to innovate. The acquired technology would be its end. Yet that end was merely Meng's starting point. Through innovation and drawing inferences, Meng could utilize anti-gravity technology to its fullest potential. This was something artificial intelligence could not achieve. With anti-gravity technology, there was now a way to leave Celia Star. However, compared to anti-gravity and laser technologies, subspace communication technology was the most crucial to Meng. Subspace was a dimension of its own. Within this dimension, communication signals could be transmitted instantaneously across any distance with no concept of latency. It was precisely the discovery of subspace that made the possibility of a united republic of myriad races within the Milky Way feasible. As an intelligent RE, subspace communication brought immense convenience to Meng. From then on, he no longer had to worry about communication issues caused by distance. Although Celia Star was an excellent location serving as a base camp, Meng would not remain on Celia Star forever. He had to grow to venture into the outside world and acquire more advanced technologies. Moreover, he yearned to see the world beyond. To travel the Milky Way, to explore unknown mysteries, to understand the histories of various civilizations. Satisfying his thirst for knowledge was what Meng desired most. A month later, Celia Star burst out of the nebula, once again hurtling towards the star. This was an endless cycle. The Celia Star would orbit the star time and again forever. Meanwhile, within Celia Star, a large-scale construction was underway. Beneath the colony ship, a network of tunnels extended in all directions. Within these tunnels, numerous piles of mineral powder pellets could be seen on the ground. They were uniform in size, about a meter in diameter. The tunnels were pitch black, so dark one couldn't see their hand in front of their face. But soon light appeared at the end of the tunnel. A long train roared along the tracks within the tunnel. Its speed was extremely slow, advancing gradually. On both sides of the cargo compartment, which was about 20 meters long and 5 meters wide, numerous mechanical arms were attached. As it passed, the mineral powder pellets were deftly grasped by the mechanical arms and placed into the cargo hold. Looking deeper into the tunnel, the light stretched to the edge of sight. In the winding and intersecting tunnels, the freight train stretched for over 10 kilometers. A kilometer beneath the surface, there was a vast open space. 3 giant humanoid construction machines were at work. They stood about 100 meters tall, humanoid in form, with slender legs, dexterous arms, and a diamond-shaped head. Despite their immense size, they gave an impression of delicacy. They were named city builders, a type of giant construction machine designed by Meng. With them, large-scale projects became as simple as stacking blocks. Once anti-gravity technology achieved widespread application, construction efficiency would be even higher. But this required time, ample time. Nothing could be achieved by ignoring the process. Time slipped away bit by bit as Meng immersed himself in researching new technologies. 5 years later, on Celia Star. 5 years had passed and some changes had occurred on Celia Star. The place where the colony ship once stood was completely transformed. The colony ship was gone, vanished without a trace. The caves originally drilled by the metal-eating bugs had also disappeared entirely. That patch of land had merged seamlessly with the surrounding terrain. Deep underground, the once extensive network of tunnels had been replaced by a metallic world. Only deeper still, in more distant subterranean reaches, could the intricate tunnels be seen. Those tunnels no longer had tracks. The primitive rail trains had been replaced by maglev trains. Compared to rail trains, maglev trains were faster and more efficient. At a depth of 10 kilometers there was a colossal metallic space. The metallic space was milky white with walls covered in profound golden patterns. The space was cylindrical, over 500 meters in diameter and 1,000 meters high. The milky white floor was connected by 8 golden lines. Each line ran straight up the walls to the dome. At the center of the floor the 8 converging golden lines formed a golden circular pattern. The golden circular pattern was about 50 meters in diameter, consisting of thousands of layers resembling a giant golden vortex. 10 meters above the vortex a huge milky white sphere adorned with golden rings floated silently. It was enormous, about 50 meters in diameter. The surface was as smooth as white jade without a single flaw. The golden rings on its surface added a sense of profound mystery. This was the super-intelligence core, the first-generation supercomputer developed by Meng. Compared to previous ship data terminal servers, its computing power had increased by 10 billion times. When it was completed, data transfer took only 0.01 seconds. The first-generation super-intelligence core became Meng's new body. The space housing the super-intelligence core was also uniquely designed. It was an additional entity that could be moved as needed. It could move down, up, left or right. In Meng's vision, this space would eventually reach the planet's core. The deepest core would be the safest place. It's time to leave. In the ocean of data, Meng received information from the surface sensor array. Cilia star was hurtling towards the star. The surface of the planet facing the star would ignite in 10 minutes. For 5 years Meng had been waiting for the day when the time was ripe. Now he was fully prepared. Meanwhile, outside in the dark universe before the colossal blue giant star, Cilia star like a speck of dust was approaching the star. The land facing the star burst into flames, leaving a lingering trail of smoke in the cosmos behind the planet. Amidst the burning land, in a certain place, the ground suddenly trembled. A massive gate slowly opened from the ground, gradually revealing a huge opening. The opening was about 1 kilometer in diameter, bottomless. A tremendous blast of air surged out from the hole, blowing away the dust around its perimeter. A visible, distorted, transparent gravity beam shot up into the sky straight towards the star. At a certain point on the star's surface, the scorching plasma boiled. As if drawn, a colossal blue flame column rose, hurtling straight towards Cilia star. The immense blue flame column crossed the vast distance and plunged into the opening. For a moment the giant blue star and Cilia star were connected by a pillar of fire. Though the flame column appeared massive, it was minuscule against the backdrop of the blue giant. This was the underground base absorbing stellar energy. Over the years, due to in-depth research on electromagnetic forces, Meng had abandoned traditional fusion energy. He shifted his focus to stellar energy. The results were astonishing. He could already utilize stellar energy at a preliminary level. In the thermal energy reaction core at the end of the tunnel, the absorbed plasma was constrained by an electromagnetic field, forming a miniature star. It gradually changed from blue to yellow like a giant fireball. The electromagnetic field array, thermoelectric array and optoelectric array are operating normally. It seems to be successful. In the main base, Meng had been observing the operational status of the energy base. The initial acquisition of stellar energy was very successful, with all systems running in an orderly fashion. Seeing that the stellar energy was successfully utilized, Meng sighed in relief. Although his calculations indicated that the failure rate was only 2s until success was achieved, even the smallest failure rate could not be ignored. Then let's set off. For this day Meng had waited 5 years. The time was ripe and Meng was unwilling to wait another day. Facing the surface of the star amidst a sea of flames, a gigantic square gate slowly opened. The gate was enormous, measuring 3 kilometers in length and 2.5 kilometers in width. Behind the gate was a port exit channel unfathomably deep. After a few seconds, a small spacecraft with a long fiery tail burst forth from the gate. It measured about 50 meters in length, 12 meters in width and 15 meters in height, square in shape resembling a coffin. The surface was as smooth as jade without a single flaw. The hull was milky white, adorned with numerous golden runes of various shapes. On 5 sides of the hull, including the bow, there were numerous golden swirling runes. The golden swirling runes were neatly arranged on all 4 sides of the hull. The bow side had 5 runes, 1 at the center and 1 at each corner. Each of the 4 sides of the bow had 6 runes, 3 above and 3 below. In the center of the belly side there was also a square rune. Each corner of the square rune had a swirling rune. The engine at the rear was a linear array engine composed of 216 small engines. They were arranged in 12 columns, each column containing 18 engines. It looked like 4 golden linear nozzles. This design allowed the spacecraft to withstand greater firepower. Even if half of the engines were destroyed, it would not significantly affect the spacecraft's thrust. More importantly, the parallel small engines could save more energy. After all, the smaller the engine, the lower the fuel consumption. As the engine's level increases, the fuel consumption multiplies. Meng calculated that the power of 3 small engines could match that of a higher level engine. Yet the fuel consumed was only 80 of that of a higher level engine. The immense thrust propelled the spacecraft into the cosmos like a rocket. The gravitational intersection of the two celestial bodies significantly weakened the gravity of Sleer star, allowing the spacecraft to successfully escape its gravitational hold. Instead of turning toward the cosmos, the spacecraft charged toward the star. It moved forward and forward like a meteor streaking across the starry sky between the two celestial bodies. When it was close enough to the star, the spacecraft suddenly turned flying parallel to the surface of the star. There was movement in the belly of the spacecraft during its high-speed flight. A circular hatch opened in the square room. The swirling runes at the corners lit up, shining with golden brilliance. In the next moment, a transparent visible gravitational beam shot out, heading straight for the star. A blue pillar of flame instantly erupted from the surface of the star. The scorching plasma gas was drawn in by the gravitational beam, traversing a great distance and pouring into the hatch of the spacecraft's belly. This hot plasma gas served as fuel for the spacecraft's engine. This process was essential. The blue pillar of flame continued for over 20 seconds before abruptly ceasing and dissipating. As the hatch of the gravitational beam device closed, the engines at the rear of the spacecraft expelled a long fiery tail. Under the immense thrust, the speed of the spacecraft surged, charging into the cosmos. After a few seconds, a blue light flashed. The spacecraft disappeared in an instant, jumping into hyperspace, dragging out a long blue streak as it plunged into the depths of the universe. Is this hyperspace? Through the ship's system connection, Meng observed the outside hyperspace using the ship's sensor array. The outside world had turned blue. The spacecraft seemed to be flying within a blue aurora tunnel. He was here on the ship, yet he was also not here. The Meng on the spacecraft was merely a split entity able to share memory data through subspace communication. The main body remained in the superintelligent core beneath Sleer star. Similar to a data backup, whether it was Meng on the ship or Meng in the superintelligent core, both were Meng. Even if the split entity was destroyed, it would not affect the main body. In less than 5 seconds, the blue aurora tunnel outside vanished. In its place was an endless golden nebula. Outside in the dark universe, the spacecraft exited hyperspace, suddenly appearing in the cosmos. It was dragging out a long blue streak behind it. The spacecraft, having left hyperspace, was still flying at high speed, charging into the golden nebula with a long fiery tail. Within the nebula, the spacecraft sped through. Surrounding it, golden lightning repeatedly struck the spacecraft's deck. The deck of the spacecraft instantly flickered with golden arcs. However, the ionized lightning seemed to have no effect on the spacecraft. Of course, it would not have any impact. The material used to construct the spacecraft was a titanium white alloy developed by Meng. This superconductive metal was forged from 36 elements and could absorb any form of energy. While it was not as strong as tin metal in terms of hardness and heat resistance, the titanium white alloy could effectively withstand energy weapon attacks. Particularly against the most commonly used explosive energy weapons of the Galactic Federation, the original power could be reduced to about 70. Moreover, the initial application of rune technology rendered the spacecraft almost immune to electromagnetic pulse attacks. Not only was it ineffective, but all energy attacks would instead recharge the spacecraft. However, the efficiency of recharging was not very high. Inside the spacecraft's cabin, a miniature superintelligent core with a diameter of about 20 centimeters floated in the air. It looked exactly like the superintelligent core. The entire body was like white jade, round and covered with layers of golden circular patterns. This was an unmanned spacecraft named Pioneer, a name given by Meng. It symbolizes the pioneer exploring the outside world. As it was an unmanned spacecraft, there was no need to reserve too much living space inside. However, considering that carbon-based life forms would board in the future, this space was left behind. The space was not large, featuring a hall of about 30 square meters. There was a bathroom of about 10 square meters, 5 rest pods each occupying about 5 square meters, and a cargo hold at the back approximately 50 square meters. This accounted for all the space on the ship. As a spacecraft measuring 50 meters in length, the Pioneer was not small. Its armament was also considerable, with a total of 30 disintegration cannons, which were arc weapons. These weapons possessed immense power. Once a carbon-based life form was hit, it would be reduced to a molecular state, turning to dust. There were also 4 spherical fighters placed on either side of the ship's bow. The spherical fighter was a type of interstellar fighter designed by Meng. It was small and round, similar to the superintelligent core, with a diameter of 1.5 meters. It was equipped with 2 disintegration cannons and could link for increased firepower when necessary. Like the Pioneer, the spherical fighter also used stellar energy as fuel. As the hyperspace thruster had yet to be successfully miniaturized, the current spherical fighter was incapable of independent hyperspace maneuvers. In addition to the fighter, the cargo hold contained 6 combat robots. These were the meticulously crafted masterpieces of Meng. Over the past 5 years, Meng had accomplished much. Beyond optimizing and advancing known technologies, Meng was also strengthening his armed forces. Based on their external appearance, he named them Knights. To enhance their combat capabilities, Meng endowed them with independent logical thinking. Even if disconnected from the mainframe, they could assess the current situation and act autonomously. Just then the sphere began to move. It rolled slightly, adjusting its posture. The next moment, a beam of blue light shot forth from the sphere. In the air it formed a clear star map of the Milky Way. Except for the unknown star regions, the main routes of the inner, middle and outer rings were distinctly marked. The secondary and secret routes within the outer ring were countless. This star map was obtained by Meng from the Gravity Star spacecraft of the Parker race. Going to a remote planet is pointless. Let's check out the trade hub of the outer ring instead. Compared to the middle and inner rings, the outer ring had fewer celestial bodies. Unlike the inner ring, where celestial density was astonishing. According to data from the Gravity Star spacecraft, the nearest trade hub to the August Nebula was a desert planet named Talak. The August Nebula was the golden nebula enveloping the star system of Sauria. It was classified as a red restricted zone by the Galactic Federation. Talak. Let's go there then. Without much hesitation, Meng made his final decision. The primary purpose of this trip was to satisfy his thirst for knowledge. Acquiring more technological knowledge was merely a secondary objective. The information regarding the Grey Robe Warrior was what intrigued Meng the most. Because the term Grey Robe Warrior seemed utterly incongruous with the current interstellar age. Meng speculated that the Grey Robe Warrior might belong to some organization. After all, the Parkers were thieves and criminals. The Grey Robe Warrior they feared might be of the same ilk. 5 hours later, the Pioneer broke free from the nebula. Outside was no longer the endless golden nebula but the dark void of space. With a flash of blue light, the Pioneer vanished in an instant, leaping into hyperspace. A long trail of blue radiance trailed behind it, surging into the depths of the cosmos. Talak Star. Talak Star was located in the outer ring. Situated in the eastern part of the star map, it was also known as the Eastern Outer Ring. It was a desert planet, a yellow orb floating in the dark universe. Today, in the outer space facing the star, a blue streak of light suddenly emerged from the dark depths of the cosmos. This was the phenomenon of a ship exiting hyperspace. Such a sight was common on Talak Star. Talak Star had 5 hyperspace route connection points. In the cosmos, from 5 directions, blue streaks of light appeared from time to time. From the planet's surface, looking up at the sky, one could see these fleeting blue trails. Like meteors streaking across the sky before vanishing abruptly. At the end of one blue trail, a peculiar white gold ship abruptly materialized. It was boxy, resembling a flying coffin. The hull was milky white, adorned with numerous golden patterns. This is Talak Space Tower calling unidentified vessel. Please activate your transponder. We require your ship's registration information. Upon leaving hyperspace, Meng received the call from Talak's tower. A transponder. The Pioneer had no such device. Meng had never considered that a transponder might be necessary for docking. Calling tower, this is a private special vessel on a trial voyage. Request permission to dock and register ship information. Meng didn't know if it would work, but he had to try. After a brief silence on the communicator, the voice of the tower dispatcher rang out again. Understood. Please proceed to the commercial dock for landing. Navigation route has been plotted. It passed just like that. Meng received the navigation guidance from the tower. In the dark cosmos, the Pioneer raced at high speed. The linear array engine at its tail spewed a long fiery plume. It rapidly approached the planet, breaking orbit and plunging into the atmosphere. Due to atmospheric friction, the outer deck of the Pioneer was instantly engulfed in flames. From the planet's surface, the Pioneer transformed into a massive fireball. This process lasted for over 10 seconds before the flames dissipated. At an altitude of tens of thousands of meters, the Pioneer streaked across the sky like a meteor. Ahead on the ground in a sunken terrain lay a city. So this is Duis City. Duis City was the only major settlement on Talak Star. The database of the Gravity Star spacecraft contained some information about Duis City. There were no towering skyscrapers nor the metallic world he had imagined. Duis City gave Meng the feeling of being transported back to the Middle East of medieval Earth. The buildings were low adobe houses and the streets were paved with sand. Only the occasional hovering vehicle zipping through the streets gave a hint of technology. And the ships entering and leaving Duis City. There were private shuttles, small vessels, and the Telios passenger ship known as the Interstellar Bus. It was a massive oval-shaped craft about 150 meters long. As the most common passenger ship in the Galactic Federation, the Helios was produced in vast numbers. The SoCal dock was just a flat area outside the city. It was also the landing site for the Helios ships. At a glance, 3 Helios ships could be seen docked there. 2 were boarding passengers and 1 was disembarking. Above the city, the Pioneer slowly descended, eventually flying into the dock. On an empty patch of the dock, the Pioneer gently landed. Its unusual shape drew the attention of everyone in the harbor. Without landing gear, the ship hovered 10 centimeters above the ground. As it settled, the left hatch opened. A white gold sphere emerged from the hatch. Outside on the dock, a man sped over on a hover bike. As he neared the Pioneer, he executed a perfect 180-degree drift and came to a stop. "Hey robot, where's your master?" Jean saw the round robot fly out of the ship's hatch. "Please identify yourself. Based on your identity, I will determine whether to answer your question." Li Meng was pretending to be a robot, deliberately adding a mechanical tone to his voice. Jean wore a brown leather armor with a small cloak draped over it. He dismounted the hoverbike and took off his helmet. "I'm Jean, the dock's sheriff. Your master's ship lacks a transponder, violating Article 63 of the Galactic Federation Navigation Act. We have the authority to impound the vessel. Tell your master the ship is grounded until its information is registered." Saying this, Jean glanced around and lowered his voice. "The ship's registration information must be provided by the manufacturer. The model of your master's ship is one I've never seen before. It must be a private modification. There are no ship manufacturers on Tarak Star, so there's no way to register the ship's information through normal channels. However, I have connections to get it done. If your master needs it, he can come to me." Could this be a scalper? Jean's words made Li Meng mutter to himself. But if he truly had connections, it would save a lot of trouble. With that thought, a small hatch on the spherical body opened and a tiny mechanical arm extended out. On the other side of the sphere, a larger hatch followed suit. The mechanical arm reached inside and retrieved a small gold brick. It was not a gold brick, but a ting-old one. "This ship is named the Pioneer. This is the deposit." Gazing at the ting-old brick in the mechanical arm's clamp, Jean's eyes lit up. The luster was unmistakably genuine. It had to be the ting-old used in the Federation's high-grade currency. Jean quickly took the ting-old brick and said, "Don't worry, leave it to me. It won't take long, at most 3 days, and this ship's information will appear in the Federation's database." Li Meng harbored no doubt about Jean's identity as a sheriff. Whether it was true or false didn't matter. What mattered was the result. If Jean was a fraud, Li Meng would find him. "Farewell then. If your master seeks someone or a job, head to the military station. It's a stronghold for the Bounty Hunter Guild. Also, Jewish City is home to many power organizations. They are the true masters of this city. The mayor is merely their tax-paying proxy to the Federation in exchange for room to survive. Tell your master it's best not to provoke them, especially the Hero people. They are the de facto rulers of the Outer Ring, the true masters of Jewish City. All factions pay tribute to the Hera, even the mayor. In short, security in the Outer Ring doesn't compare to the Middle or Inner Rings. It's a realm of true chaos and lawlessness where underworld gangs run rampant. Here there is no law, only yourself can protect you." Perhaps it was a warning, perhaps just a kind reminder. After uttering these words, Jean mounted his hoverbike. Amidst the rumbling roar of the engine, he sped away into the distance. Where he passed, clouds of dust billowed. Chaos, a lawless land. From Jean's words, Li Meng gleaned much information. It seemed the Galactic Federation had already become corrupt, otherwise how could it allow the Outer Ring to descend into chaos and lawlessness? After much deliberation, Li Meng decided it was best to tread cautiously. Although the split entity was not defenseless, its small size limited its armament. If the split entity were destroyed, it would cause great trouble. Click! A faint sound of mechanical operation came from behind. A hatch opened on the smooth hull of the Pioneer. Accompanied by the clanking of metal, a tall figure emerged from the hatch. It stood about 2.5 meters tall, robust in build, resembling an ancient knight clad in full plate armor. Its main body was milky white with a metallic luster akin to white jade. Golden decorative patterns adorned various parts, appearing profoundly mysterious. Its movements were fluid without any hesitation. From appearance alone, it was difficult to identify it as a robot. The weapon it carried was an arc rifle slung over its shoulder. The rifle resembled a box, platinum white in color. It had no trigger, sensor activated, only usable in the knight's hands. "Let's go, Knight 1. The split entity flew forward, heading toward the dock exit. "Yes, Master." Knight 1 responded to Li Meng, its slightly mechanical voice emanating from its head. What a variety of alien races. On his way out of the dock, Li Meng saw many alien species heading outward just like him. They looked bizarre. If described in words, many creatures from Earth could be used to depict them. Their skin tones were diverse, a riot of colors. Their sizes varied, some large, some small. However, most were humanoid, bipedal, neither too big nor too small, similar to humans. There were so many humanoid alien races that Li Meng wondered if humans had exterminated all non-humanoid species. During his departure from the dock, Li Meng saw no fewer than 20 different alien species. Knight 1 with its towering frame and full body armor drew many stares along the way. Wherever it passed, the crowd parted, their gazes filled with fear and curiosity. Where is the military station? At the station outside the dock, Li Meng hailed a robot-pulled cart. Similar to a rickshaw, but the cart was hover-capable, powered by a two-wheeled robot. The robot was small, about 1.5 meters tall. Its legs were replaced by wheels and its hands pulled the non-propelled hover cart. A disc, seemingly a solar panel, was perched on its head. "Sorry, I don't have inquiry services. Please get in, I'll take you to the military station. It costs 15 credits. Credits were the official currency of the Galactic Federation. Transactions were not online but physical. Li Meng had no credits and couldn't be bothered to argue with the robot. The split entity darted forward, extending its mechanical claw to plug into the port behind the robot's head. "Stop! This is illegal. According to Robot Safety Protocol Article 13, I have the right to. The right to. In just 1 second, Li Meng cracked the robot's firewall and infiltrated its database. Within the robot's database, Li Meng found a map of Jewish City. Withdrawing its claw, Li Meng continued onward. The military station was not far from the dock, only 2 blocks away, quite close. Seeing his master depart, Night One silently followed behind. The rickshaw robot meanwhile seemed to have crashed. After more than 10 seconds it rebooted as if reactivated, swiveling its head to survey its surroundings as if puzzled by what had just happened. Just after Li Meng left, a figure in a grey cloak approached the rickshaw robot. The figure was shrouded in a grey cloak, concealing its true appearance within. It only took 2 seconds to crack the rickshaw robot's firewall. The voice was filled with surprise, astonishment and disbelief. It slightly raised its head, gazing toward the end of the street, and followed. The so-called military station was not just a stronghold for the Bounty Hunter Guild but also a bar. Bounty Hunters were an unofficial armed organization recognized by the Galactic Federation. Their main business was capturing and hunting fugitives wanted by the Federation. Is this the army? Following the street, Li Meng arrived in front of a castle-like building. Compared to other low-rise structures, its scale was larger. It was slightly smaller than the municipal building in the city center. Outside, fully armed bounty hunters could be seen entering and exiting the armory. Li Meng and Night No. This odd duo of large and small also attracted the attention of the hunters. Perhaps it was the imposing figure of Night No. That intimidated them. They merely glanced and quickly turned away, hurrying off. Not lingering outside, Li Meng led Night No. Towards the main entrance. As soon as he entered through the armorist's door, Li Meng heard a cacophony of chattering sounds. It was a noise formed by the convergence of different languages from various races. Hey, get out! This place only serves bounty hunter robots. Upon entering the door, a security combat robot painted in yellow approached. It appeared somewhat slender, with a simple structure resembling a skeleton. Only the upper body and head core area were armored. A flash of golden light erupted as a golden bolt of lightning shot out from the surface of the divided entity. In an instant it crossed several meters and struck the security robot walking towards it. Electricity surged widely across the security robot. Warning, intruder? Intruder? The mechanical body trembled violently and crashed to the ground. This scene brought the bar's noisy chatter to an abrupt halt. All hunters turned their gazes towards Li Meng and Night No. You should be smarter. As soon as Li Meng spoke, the bounty hunters seemed to forget what had happened, continuing to drink and laugh. Yet their peripheral vision remained observant of Li Meng and Night No. After the security robot was attacked, there was no reaction from the armorer's side. Security robots from the other 2 directions came over and carried away the fallen robot. At that moment, a graceful figure walked over from the direction of the bar. She was fairly tall, around 1.8 meters. She was non-human, a humanoid race. With an 80 similarity to humans, the only difference was her head. She had a face similar to a human's with skin like white jade. 2 short red horns grew from her head, and her hair was not fine like that of a human. Instead, it consisted of thick keratinous fibers. They were crimson, very long, reaching her knee bends. She wore a black long dress, swaying her waist as she moved, exuding a very seductive aura. She was very alluring, captivating attention, yet had a pair of sinister blood-red eyes. As for her race, Li Meng did not know. The information database of the Gravity Star spaceship only recorded information about the Parker race, leaving Li Meng completely unaware of other races. But he knew she was headed towards him. Because she was walking over here. Sorry, I hope my security robot did not disturb you. When she reached Li Meng, she stopped, smiling. Her voice was very gentle, soothing to hear. Although she was right in front of Li Meng, her gaze was directed at Night No. Behind him. Li Meng, sorry, beautiful lady, I hope my rudeness did not trouble you. Beautiful lady. Orphery smiled slightly. She smiled and said, my name is Orphery, the armorer's commission handler. It's a pleasure to meet you, little guy. Orphery. That was a nice name, and she was beautiful. Although she appeared somewhat sinister, she aligned well with Li Meng's aesthetic. Li Meng introduced himself. I am a multifunctional technician service robot. You can call me Chio Chio. Multifunctional technician service robot. A hint of confusion flashed in Orphery's eyes. Is there such a type of robot? She glanced again at Chio Chio's master, her expression turning contemplative. I'm sorry, my master is not good with words. I hope Miss Orphery won't mind. Assessing Li Meng up and down, a flicker of doubt passed through Orphery's eyes. Not to mention, Chio Chio indeed did not resemble a robot at all. Not only did his voice not sound like one, but even his manner of speaking did not. Orphery smiled and said, no worries, I won't mind, Chio Chio. May I ask what your master needs? The equipment on Chio Chio's master was not simple. Orphery could tell at a glance. Other bounty hunters either wore some kind of explosive-resistant biological leather armor or had no protection at all. There were indeed a few people in heavy armor, but they were few and far between. Wearing such heavy armor yet moving so nimbly could only mean two possibilities. Either the unidentified race inside possessed immense strength like the strong and powerful Goliath race, or it was powered armor equipped with its own propulsion. But this latter possibility was slim as Orphery had not heard any mechanical sounds coming from within the armor. My master is looking for some work to do, not limited to just capturing interstellar fugitives but also some high-risk tasks that cannot be made public, preferably the more dangerous the better. My master enjoys seeking thrills. Miss Orphery, I hope you can satisfy my master's preferences. Li Meng's words made Orphery smile. She assessed Night No. 1 and turned to walk toward the bar. Chiyo, come with me. Her gentle voice soon reached Li Meng's ears. Li Meng followed, floating 5 meters above the ground. Night No. 1 followed closely behind. Following Orphery, Li Meng passed through the hall and entered a room in the corridor behind the bar. In the room there was an office desk. Orphery sat down behind the desk. Looking at Li Meng floating in front of her and Night No. 1 standing straight, Orphery asked, Chiyo, your master should not know much about the Bounty Hunter Guild, right? To what Orphery said, Li Meng did not deny. Yes, I know nothing. Li Meng was not lying, he truly knew nothing. Upon hearing this, Orphery showed a knowing expression. Chiyo's earlier words had led Orphery to some speculation about Chiyo's master's identity. Orphery was certain that Chiyo's master must be from the inner ring star domain. They were a rich heir seeking thrills in the outer ring star domain. She had seen this type of person before. But Chiyo's master seemed somewhat different from those wealthy heirs. As for how they were different, Orphery did not know, she just had that feeling. With a calm expression, Orphery said, bounty hunters are officially recognized as an unofficial law enforcement organization that maintains order and justice, but in reality it's a trading platform for an employer to find helpers to solve problems. For bounty hunters, as long as they are provided with enough credit points, there is nothing they cannot do, even illegal activities. Many wanted interstellar criminals also hold the identity of bounty hunters. Chiyo, compared to straightforward tasks, dark tasks are much more dangerous. Does your master really want to do this? Hearing Orphery's words, Li Meng grew increasingly interested in another side of bounty hunters. Without hesitation he said, of course, my master is ready. The open world has its rules and the shadowy world has its own. Commission tasks in the shadows require extensive connections from the receiver. Henceforth, Chiyo, your master shall be my exclusive hunter, forbidden from contacting other receivers. The reward distribution ratio is 30% for you and 70% for me. In the future I will adjust the ratio based on your master's rating up to a maximum of 7-30. With that, Aofury placed the data disk on the desk and slid it forward to the farthest reach of her hand. Chiyo, this is your master's first task. Only upon completion can he become my exclusive hunter. Aofury's meaning was clear, only by completing the task could he become her exclusive hunter. The consequences of failure went without saying. Li Meng approached the desk using his mechanical claw to insert the data disk into the port. This mission is an infiltration task with a possibility of combat. The employer requires an assistant. Proceed immediately to Pier 63 to rendezvous with the employer. All necessary data for the infiltration is on this disk. From the data disk, Li Meng gleaned some mission details. Since it only required an assistant, the information merely outlined the employer's needs. The data on the disk also revealed why Aofury had taken an interest in him. The employer needed a Y7 class astromech robot. The Y7 was the most advanced astromech robot model in the galaxy. Not a single one of this class could be found on the entire planet of Tarluk. Such robots only appeared in the inner ring star systems. Leave it to me, I will complete the task flawlessly. With that, Li Meng turned and departed, with Night Unit 1 following closely behind. It was already afternoon and the military station was still bustling with activity. After leaving the room, Li Meng had no intention of lingering and headed outside. However, as he passed the bar counter, the service robot behind it caught his attention. He paused for a few seconds, observing it at work. Then he flew over, crossing the counter to approach the service robot. Hello, may I help you? Sorry, I don't serve robots. At the counter, Li Meng engaged the service robot in conversation. You must know many languages, right? The service robot replied, yes, to meet service demands I am fluent in 1732413 different languages. In that case you can serve me. Li Meng flew around to the back of the service robot's head. What are you doing? This is illegal according to. Ignoring the service robot's warnings, Li Meng extended his mechanical arm and inserted it into the port at the back of the robot's head. In just a few seconds, Li Meng downloaded a vast database of over 1 million languages. As he left, the temporarily disabled humanoid service robot rebooted. What happened? What's wrong with me? The service robot swiveled its head, looking around and questioning itself. The Galactic Federation's artificial intelligence had reached its pinnacle. Every robot could be considered a data-based lifeform possessing independent consciousness. Yet no matter how advanced the RE, it was still bound by underlying programmatic constraints. Thus, despite their high intelligence, robots could never evolve into higher life forms. Li Meng left the military station with Night Unit 1. Night Unit 1 returned to standby. On the street outside, Li Meng issued a new command to Night Unit 1. The fact that his so-called master was a robot was best kept from others. As you command, my master. Night Unit 1 turned and strode away. Watching its retreating figure, Li Meng's small round detached form flew off toward the other side of the street. In the city of Jewis, besides commercial docks, there were many private ones typically managed by repair stations on the city's outskirts. Those stations collaborated with tower personnel to attract more customers. Whenever a ship docked, they could offer a range of services, such as ship maintenance, refueling, and so on. It was already afternoon, and before sunset, Li Meng located Pier 63. Pier 63 was on the eastern edge of the city, bordering a stretch of yellow sand. The building itself was shaped like a donut with the landing pad at its core. Li Meng stopped at the entrance and peered inside. Seeing no one and the door wide open, he flew in. "Hey robot, this is private property, get out." As he entered, a harsh voice rang out from within the repair station. Behind the entrance was a landing pad where a small spacecraft sat, about 14 meters long, with a streamlined twin-wing design in white and yellow livery. A grimy woman crawled out from under the fuselage. She appeared to be around 30 with a messy mop of coffee-colored hair. She wore a brown leather uniform, filthy and stained with black grease, and advanced menacingly, brandishing a wrench. Her fierce demeanor startled Li Meng, who retreated rapidly. "Wait, I'm here to find someone. I didn't mean to intrude." Did this woman harbor some hatred for robots? The fury on her face was unmistakably genuine. Terrified, Li Meng quickly ascended. He had no desire to be on the receiving end of her wrench. "Get down here. You said you're looking for someone, so come down and talk properly." Despite her words, she swung the wrench in the air. If she could reach him, she would have already struck. "Your heart rate is elevated. Based on probability calculations, there's a 70% chance you intend to attack. Please cease your hostile actions." This woman was like a tigress intent on attacking him. She was so fierce, so volatile. Li Meng had never encountered such a belligerent woman. "Tessa, it's here for me." Just then a youthful voice sounded from the side. The voice came from behind, and Li Meng turned to look. A figure draped in a grey cloak emerged from the main entrance. From their build, they were either human or humanoid. The arrival of the grey-robed figure made Tessa glare at Li Meng before she turned and walked away. Li Meng glanced at the grey-robed figure, then at the retreating back of the fierce woman. Though uncertain of the situation, one thing was clear: the woman named Tessa absolutely despised robots. Apologies, Tessa harbors a strong dislike for robots due to certain reasons. I hope you can forgive her. His voice was gentle and polite. Li Meng descended, stopping before him. My name is Chiu, the galaxy's only universal robot. Pleased to meet you, employer. The man did not refute Li Meng's boastful words. Instead, he simply lowered his hood. As the hood fell away, a youthful face came into view. He was young, around 20 years old, with short coffee-colored hair and a headband tied across his forehead. He smiled and said, I believe you are the robot I'm looking for. My name is Chius. With that introduction, the two became acquainted. So Tule's, what do you need me to do? Li Meng still had no idea what Tule's intended to do. The data disk given by Offray contained very little information. There was no information related to the mission, only geographical data and maps of the planet Tarek. Glancing up at the sky, Tule's pulled his hood back on. I'll explain on the way. Let's go. Tule seemed extremely urgent, and Li Meng didn't ask further. Following Tule's, Li Meng left the repair station at Dock 63. Outside, Tule's had already prepared a hoverbike. Seeing the hoverbike at the door, Li Meng muttered to himself. There had been no hoverbike outside when they arrived. Tule's timing for returning was indeed quite convenient. Outside, Tule's mounted the hoverbike. Chio, can you keep up with the hoverbike's speed? No. In response to Tule's question, Li Meng denied it without hesitation. Although the round sphere possessed flight capabilities, its speed could not match the hoverbike, whose maximum velocity exceeded 500 km per hour. The magnetic repulsion force generated by the anti-gravity device allowed a top speed of no more than 50 km per hour. Moving forward, Li Meng landed on a flat plate at the front of the vehicle, using magnetic force to secure himself. Tessa, I'll leave the ship to you. If all goes well, we can return tonight. At some point, Tessa had appeared at the door. Tessa waved the wrench in her hand and said, Don't worry, I'll have that old crate of yours serviced before you get back. Without another word, Tule started the engine. With a hissing exhaust sound, the turbojet engine beneath the seat spewed orange flames. Tule stepped on the throttle and the hoverbike shot forward like a tiger descending a mountain, accompanied by the roaring howl of the engine like wind. Where it passed, sand and dust billowed, leaving a lingering trail that refused to dissipate. It was already afternoon, and the sun was slowly setting in the west. In the boundless desert, a hoverbike sped along at high velocity. So swift was it that it swept across the desert like a phantom. A powerful gust of wind struck, causing Tulay's hood to flap noisily. A blue light flickered as Meng opened a holographic map and displayed it before Tulay's. Based on probability calculations, there is an 80 chance your destination is here. This was a holographic map of Tarek's northern hemisphere. A red glow flickered at a certain point on the map, the spot Meng had marked. Beneath the hood, a flicker of surprise crossed Tulay's eyes. Chiu, how did you know? He had not revealed any mission details, yet the sphere had precisely located his destination. Could the sphere possess precognitive abilities? Meng, of course, had no such gift. He replied, I tracked the signals from the space tower. Tarek has only one official port, Jewish City. However, today multiple large transport ships guided by the space tower headed to an unknown landing point on the planet's surface. Where there is anomaly, there must be reason. The direction you are heading is precisely that secret landing point. Through elimination and probability calculation, I arrived at this answer. The sphere's answer brought clarity to Tulay's. Indeed, although Tarek was a trade hub in the eastern outer ring sector, it was hardly a bustling place. The entire planet had only one major settlement, Jewis. Jewis had become a trade center solely because the chieftain of the Hera clan resided on Tarek. Tulay's did not conceal the truth. Chiu, you're right. The place you marked is exactly where we're going. Though I don't know what's there, that's precisely why we're heading there. In the endless desert, the hoverbike raced along at 300 kilometers per hour. Where it passed sand and dust below, leaving a lingering trail. So fast was it that it vanished beyond the horizon in the blink of an eye. 3 hours later, just as the sun was about to disappear below the horizon, Tulay's and Meng arrived at their destination. Hiding the hoverbike behind a massive boulder, Tulay's cautiously dashed forward. A few hundred meters ahead lay a colossal rift valley. Its length was unclear, stretching beyond sight, and it was about a kilometer wide, splitting the earth in two. Quietly reaching the cliff's edge, Tulay's lay flat on the ground. He pulled a telescope from his belt and observed the situation in the rift. Based on probability calculations, a secret base should be hidden within the cliff walls of the rift. The rift was immense. According to observations, it was no less than 100 kilometers long. This particular section was a kilometer wide. At the bottom of the rift, a massive transport ship was docked. Its model was unknown, as Meng's database held no data on such a transport vessel. It was square and boxy, somewhat flat in shape. From its appearance, it was clearly a civilian transport ship. The vessel was about 500 meters long and roughly 100 meters wide, occupying most of the rift. On the opposite rock wall at the bottom of the valley was a massive circular door. Numerous figures clad in yellow armor were using floating pallets to unload cargo from the transport ship and bring it into the base. Chiu, can you identify the species of those figures in yellow armor? Due to the distance and their full body armor, Tulay's could not discern their race. Following Tulay's request, Meng focused on the yellow armored figures. Average height 1.5 meters, their posture is hunched, there is an additional tail armor, the helmet shape resembles a long-snouted creature. According to probability calculations, there is an 80 chance they are scurry rat men. After acquiring over 1 million languages from the service robots database at the station, Meng also obtained information about the corresponding species. The Scurry clan, also known as the Rat Men. Their home planet Scurry is located in the 0345-star sector of the northern outer ring. Their civilization is relatively primitive. They are the natives of Scurry and lack interstellar travel capabilities. Their appearance resembles rats with extremely high fertility and a voracious appetite. Since their inception, the species has been embroiled in civil war. Due to the Ratmen's tendency to cannibalize their own kind, their extremely barbaric culture, and their low intelligence, they have not been accepted by the Galactic Federation. Their home star system has also been designated a restricted zone, prohibiting contact from external civilizations. Scurry Ratmen. How could those creatures appear on Tarek? Beneath the hood, the young face of Tulay's furrowed its brow. How could the native creatures of Scurry appear in large numbers on Tarek? Tulay's did not believe that the Scurry Ratmen, lacking interstellar travel capabilities, could have reached Tarek on their own. There was only one answer: the Scurry Ratmen had been brought here by some force. There was only one answer: the Scurry Ratmen had been brought here by some force. Chiu, we need to get in there. I need you to infiltrate the secret base's information database and obtain intelligence on this facility. This was a heavily fortified secret base, and infiltrating it silently was no easy feat. Utilizing the various sensors carried by his split entities and scanning arrays, Meng analyzed the valley floor. The valley floor is densely covered with sensors. The probability of a frontal infiltration succeeding is estimated at 10. I suggest finding another entrance. A frontal infiltration was utterly impossible. The valley floor had only one entrance, guarded by numerous Ratmen soldiers. Those Ratmen soldiers, clad in yellow armor and wielding blaster rifles, looked far from easy to deal with. Chiu was alone. If the infiltration failed, he would be in grave danger. To silently infiltrate the valley floor base, a different approach was necessary. Chiu observed the opposite cliff face through his binoculars. Underground bases of this sort invariably had ventilation shafts or similar structures. Chiu, I've detected an anti-gravity train. Just then Li Meng made a new discovery. At the southern end of the valley floor a long anti-gravity train had appeared. The massive turbojet engine at its front provided immense power, propelling it swiftly across the valley floor at speeds approaching 200 kilometers per hour. As they spotted it, it began to decelerate. Just as Li Meng alerted Chuas, the anti-gravity train entered a bend. It vanished into the bend but never emerged. This sight made Chua's eyes light up. Clearly, aside from the main gate in the valley, there was another entrance for the anti-gravity train. Chiu, let's go. Chuas rose to his feet and dashed toward the hoverbike hidden behind the boulder. Soon the engine roared and waves of hot air billowed. Chuas rode the hoverbike out from behind the boulder and sped south along the cliff edge. He stopped above the bend where the anti-gravity train had disappeared. The rift valley was deep, hundreds of meters at least. What happened above was imperceptible below. The setting sun had dipped below the horizon and darkness gradually enveloped the land. Lying at the cliff's edge, Chuas peered down into the rift valley with his binoculars. As expected, there was another massive metal circular door at the valley floor. It was larger than the one previously discovered, with even more Rapmen soldiers stationed outside. All were clad in yellow armor and armed with blaster rifles. At a glance there were 2 full squads of Rapmen soldiers, 24 in total. They stood with strict discipline, upright and alert, scanning their surroundings warily. Are they really Skaven Rapmen? As he watched the Skaven Rapmen standing guard before the valley floor gate, a flicker of doubt crossed Chua's eyes. In his memory, Skaven Rapmen were not only savage and dim-witted but also difficult to communicate with. Yet these Rapmen behaved in an orderly and disciplined manner. They were nothing like the Skaven Rapmen Chuas remembered. Chiu, are you absolutely certain they are Skaven Rapmen? Chuas lowered his binoculars and turned to Chiu beside him for confirmation. Li Meng replied, there's no mistake. The probability of them being Skaven Rapmen is 100. Chuas turned his gaze back to the valley floor. Since Chiu was so certain, there was no need for further doubt. Once inside the base, everything would become clear. Chiu, we must infiltrate the base. Do you have any good suggestions? Li Meng ascended slightly, observing the southern end of the rift valley. After a while he descended back to Chua's side. I suggest using the anti-gravity train to infiltrate the base. The success probability is 70, though I cannot rule out scanning arrays in the tunnel behind the door checking the train. Infiltrate the base using the anti-gravity train. Chuas took another look through his binoculars at the southern end of the rift valley. To infiltrate the base silently, this was likely the only viable method. Once they could get through the gate, things would become much easier. Alright, let's do it. Let's head to the anti-gravity train's path and wait. There was only one road in the valley. Chuas then moved south along the cliff edge. Time passed quickly as the sun set and darkness cloaked the land. The planet Tarak had 2 moons, Tarak 1 and Tarak 2. As darkness fell, 2 full moons had silently climbed the sky, their brilliant moonlight faintly dispelling the gloom. That night a figure in a grey cloak crouched by the cliff edge of the rift valley. Whenever a breeze blew, his cloak rustled loudly. Chuas, the anti-gravity train is approaching. Above Chua's head the split entity hovered silently. From the southern end of the rift valley came the buzzing roar of an engine. The sound echoed through the canyon, sweeping toward them. In the distant rift valley occasional flashes of light flickered from the valley floor, rapidly approaching. Before long a winding dragon-like form appeared in the eyes of Chuas and Li Meng. A faint blue light shimmered on the anti-gravity train, making it look like a serpent slithering forward in the night. Chuas, you must get down to the valley floor or it will be too late. Seeing Chuas still motionless at the cliff edge, Li Meng couldn't help but remind him. The anti-gravity train was approaching at high speed, they had only one chance. My anti-gravity device can carry 500 kilograms. I can take you down. No need. Chuas refused Li Meng's offer. Then he made a move that left Li Meng bewildered. He stood up and leaped from the cliff edge. Wait. Li Meng hadn't expected Chuas to jump so suddenly, or it caught him off guard. The distance to the valley floor was at least 300 meters. A fall from such a height offered no chance of survival. Chua's seemingly suicidal act was entirely beyond Li Meng's expectations. Had all this effort been for nothing just to choose a spot to die? Li Meng quickly moved forward to look down into the valley. What he saw left him utterly stunned. Chuas fell vertically, then landed lightly on the roof of the passing anti-gravity train. His descent was swift, yet his landing on the train roof was remarkably graceful. The sight left Li Meng completely baffled. His split entity frantically calculated, teetering on the brink of a crash. No matter how he computed, the survival rate for a fall from that height was no higher than 1. How had he done it? Steadying himself on the train roof, Chuas waved at Li Meng on the cliff edge. Snapping out of his daze, Li Meng halted his futile calculations and dove toward the valley floor. How did you manage that? No matter how I calculate, your survival probability is no higher than 1. I simply cannot comprehend it. On the roof of the anti-gravity train, Li Meng caught up with Chuas. Using magnetic force, he adhered to the roof's armor plating. Chuas lay flat on the roof. The anti-gravity train was decelerating. Not far ahead lay the entrance to the base. Chiu, you don't know about the Temple Night Order. Temple Night Order. Sorry, I don't know. There's no relevant data in my database. Chiu's response surprised Chiu's. The Temple Night Order was a symbol of the Galactic Federation government known to every household. Even if Chiu's database lacked information about the Temple Night Order, it should have gathered some related data during its long period of operation. Unless Chiu was a newly activated robot, it would be impossible not to know of the Temple Night Order's existence. Chiu, how long have you been active? Chiu's question put Meng on alert. He knew he had slipped up. From Chiu's words, it seemed he should have known about the Temple Night Order. 109 days, 13 hours, 45 minutes and 19 seconds. Upon hearing this, Chiu understood. It seemed Chiu had been taken to the Tarak star shortly after activation without experiencing much. You'll know in time. For now, let's complete our mission. The large circular door on the cliff ahead slowly opened as if welcoming the arrival of the anti-gravity train. The Ratmen soldiers outside the door also cleared the path, allowing the train to pass. At a speed of 30 km per hour, the anti-gravity train glided 1 meter above the ground and slowly entered the massive metal circular door. Behind the door was a long corridor stretching straight ahead into the earth. Chiu, there's a spectral scanning array ahead. Shortly after entering the corridor, a blue light curtain appeared ahead. The anti-gravity train slowly passed through the light curtain, undergoing inspection by the spectral scanner. The scanner's rays could penetrate the train's body, scanning its interior. If nothing was done, Chiu's would surely be discovered. Leave it to me. This was Meng's moment to step in. Meng detached from the train's roof and flew forward. As he was about to pass through the spectrum, golden electric arcs flickered across the smooth surface of his split body. With a flash of golden light, 2 bolts of golden lightning shot out, striking the scanning arrays on both walls. Crackle! Amidst a burst of sparks, the scanning arrays were instantly disabled and went offline. The blue light curtain vanished. With the arrays gone, Chiu's passed through the checkpoint smoothly. However, the destruction of the scanning arrays alerted the Skaven Ratmen inside the base. A chittering sound echoed from the corridor ahead. That was the Skaven language, a very piercing sound. Go see what happened. At once. It's the checkpoint. Something's wrong. Several squads of Skaven Ratmen soldiers rushed from side passages toward the checkpoint. They completely failed to notice Chiu's, who had hidden himself on the train's roof. Chiu's, there's a fork ahead. Time to get off. They absolutely could not follow the anti-gravity train into the final station. Thinking about it, that would be anything but wise. No matter where the side passages led, it was better than heading to the final station. Glancing at the fork ahead, Chiu's waited for the right moment to approach. When the anti-gravity train passed the fork, Chiu's flipped his body, pushed hard with both hands, and agilely leaped from the roof, landing on the ground. As soon as he landed, he dashed into the side passage. Beyond the entrance, everything was a metal world. Judging by the color of the metal walls, the base had been built quite some time ago. Following the corridor forward, they soon encountered another door blocking their path. I need some time. If the control panel's port connects to the central system, we won't have to go deeper. To the left of the door was a control panel, an emergency backup system designed to prevent electronic locks from jamming and facilitate repairs. Meng stepped forward, extending a mechanical claw and inserting it into the port. Such electronic doors were usually connected to the central system, which controlled the entire base. But it wasn't absolute, but could also be an independent regional system. Who goes there? A sudden shout rang out. From the direction they had come, a squad of Skaven Ratmen appeared in the corridor. They had spotted the uninvited guests at the door. Intruders. Sound the alarm. Reacting quickly, they raised their weapons and charged forward. Chiu, keep hacking the central system. Leave the rest to me. Though unsure where Chiu's confidence came from, Meng had no time to dwell on it. He was at a critical moment, breaking through the base's central system firewall. If interrupted, the firewall would immediately repair itself. The next attempt would be 100 times harder. I've infiltrated the central system's database. Downloading data now. I need 30 seconds. Hearing this, Chiu's grinned beneath his hood. He hadn't misjudged the robot. Bringing Chiu along for this infiltration was the right call. As the Skaven Ratmen charged, Chiu's pulled a hilt from his waist. The hilt was silver-grey, cylindrical, with some protruding structures. With a whirring sound, a milky white beam of light surged from the hilt, taking shape and solidifying. The blade resembled burning plasma, distorting the space around it. What's that? A lightsaber. Though busy downloading data from the central system's database, Meng kept an eye on what was happening behind him. Seeing Chiu's hilt transform into a lightsaber startled Meng immensely. It reminded him of a sci-fi movie from Earth's era called Star Wars. That movie had lightsabers exactly like the one in Chiu's hand. No, not exactly. The one in Chiu's hand felt far more real. It's a grey robe warrior. Open fire! Open fire! Seeing Chiu's draw his lightsaber, the charging Skaven stopped in their tracks and opened fire. With a series of screeching sounds, gunfire erupted from all directions. Fiery laser beams rained down upon Chiu's like a storm. The moment the Skaven fired, Chiu's moved. He swung his lightsaber, which spun like a wheel of light, forming a shield. The incoming laser beams were precisely deflected by the lightsaber. Some beams even ricocheted back, striking the Skaven. The Skaven hit by the laser beams emitted puffs of green smoke and were sent flying backward. Looking at the fallen Skaven, their armor had been blasted open with a glowing red hole, revealing a bloody gaping wound through their bodies. Though the explosion radius of the energy bolts was small, the concentrated energy had immense armor-piercing power. Could the grey-robed warrior be like the Jedi from the movies? This scene was too theatrical, perfectly mirroring the Jedi in the films. There it was, that familiar move. Chiu reached out with his free left hand and grabbed. Several dozen meters away, 2 Skaven soldiers were seized by an invisible hand, dragged through the air toward Chiu. Chiu swung his lightsaber in a single slash. The Skaven soldier pulled before him was cleaved in two by the lightsaber. Like cutting through tofu, the armor on the Skaven proved utterly useless. For a moment the gruesome scene unfolded before Li Meng's eyes. Gazing at the bisected Skaven on the ground, Li Meng felt no fear. Instead, he instinctively analyzed the wound. This struck Li Meng as rather odd. It also made him deeply aware of his own transformation. He was no longer human, having shed the shackles of flesh to become a digital life form. How much of his human emotions remained, even Li Meng himself could not tell. Though somewhat distracted, Li Meng did not forget his mission. With the relevant data downloaded, Li Meng retracted his mechanical claw. Choose the data is downloaded. We need to leave here as quickly as possible. Reinforcements from the base are on their way. While infiltrating the base's central system, Li Meng had briefly taken control of the entire facility. Alarms were blaring throughout the base and a flood of Skaven soldiers was surging toward their location. Though Chiu was formidable, possessing superhuman strength, he might still be unable to withstand attacks from all directions. From Chiu's fighting style, it was evident that the grey-robed warrior, despite his power, could not handle assaults from every side. If 2 squads fired at him from front and rear, Chiu would likely find it difficult to parry. His only option would be to swiftly break through one side and then disengage from the battle. Even amid combat, Chiu did not forget to confirm, "Did you obtain the base's intelligence?" "Yes, I got it." Hearing this, Chiu's face lit up with joy. He ceased his defensive stance and charged toward the Skaven. The lightsaber in his hand whirled like a wheel. The remaining Skaven soldiers were struck by deflected blaster bolts and fell to the ground. Chiu, let's go." Chiu broke into a run down the corridor with Li Meng close behind. They retraced their path, charging straight ahead with reckless abandon. Any Skaven soldiers they encountered were cut down one by Chiu's lightsaber. Before reinforcements from within the base could arrive, the two had already stormed their way to the main gate. There are 24 Skaven outside, positioned left and right 100 meters apart. Arriving before the control panel beside the gate, Li Meng began hacking into the electronic doors system. The gate operated on an independent network directly controlled by the Skaven guard stationed there. It could only be opened from the inside, permitting entry but not exit. Chiu, open the door. Once we're out, ascend straight to the hoverbike, don't wait for me. Behind the gate, Chiu stood tall in his grey robe, lightsaber in hand, poised and ready. There was no time left for hesitation, and Li Meng would not hesitate. With a click, the heavy metal door groaned as its mechanisms engaged. The circular metal door rolled to one side, gradually revealing the night beyond. Chiu, go. After uttering these words, Chiu charged into the darkness outside. Intruders! Open fire! Open fire! The Skaven soldiers' shouts erupted outside, accompanied by a wild dance of crimson beams. Plunging into the darkness, Chiu did not linger in battle. With his right hand he wielded the lightsaber, deflecting incoming blaster bolts. With his left he thrust toward the Skaven concealed in the shadows on the left. In the darkness, several Skaven on the left were struck as if by an invisible hammer hurled through the air. They flew over 10 meters before tumbling awkwardly to the ground. In the dark, Chiu's movements were incredibly agile. Seizing the chaos, he dashed out and pressed close to the cliff face. Leaping up, he ascended to a protruding rock over 30 meters high. Then, bounding nimbly like a monkey across the rock face, he soon reached the top of the cliff. That's just too exaggerated. In the night sky, Li Meng watched Chiu, who had already reached the cliff top below him, muttering to himself. The existence of the grey-robed warrior defied all logic, a sheer supernatural phenomenon. But upon reflection, the warrior's existence hardly seemed so astonishing. The universe is vast, and the paths of civilization's development are not limited to physical technology alone. Things that seem incredible and violate physical laws have their own set of cosmic principles. Chiu, where are you? Having sprinted all the way back to the hoverbike and finding Li Meng absent, Chiu grew anxious. I'm up here. From above Chiu's head, Li Meng slowly descended. A blue beam suddenly shot out, forming a fan-shaped curtain of light that scanned the lightsaber in Chiu's hand. Chiu, what are you doing? Seeing Chiu scanning his lightsaber, Chiu deactivated it. In an instant, darkness enveloped the area where they stood. I'm very interested in the lightsaber in your hand. Its structure is exquisite, containing a solar crystal matrix, but the energy it releases is neither laser nor plasma. Meng had already analyzed the lightsaber's structure. Yet that structure could never produce a laser, let alone shape and stabilize one. Chios mounted the hoverbike and said, "Chio, let's go. We'll talk on the way." Moving forward, Meng used magnetism to secure himself to the front of the vehicle. The engine roared and the jet nozzle spewed a dazzling orange flame. Under the moonlight, the hoverbike shot forward like a raging tiger descending a mountain, quickly vanishing into the distance. The night was deep with a full moon hanging in the sky. In the endless desert, a beam of light moved rapidly. Amid the powerful roar of the engine, the hoverbike traveled at 200 kilometers per hour. Chio, that's not a lightsaber, it's a phase blade. The blade isn't a laser, it's an energy reaction between psychic power and the solar crystal matrix. It possesses high heat and the ability to decompose matter. It is indestructible, and in the known universe only Sithium can briefly withstand its edge. Phase blade. Psychic power. No corresponding data available. Unable to analyze psychic power? Please explain what psychic power is. Beneath his hood, Chios smiled. Psychic power is a very mysterious force. Whether it exists in the form of energy is a question the Temple Knights have explored for 10,000 years without finding an answer. All we know is that psychic power exists within all things, like water in the ocean. As long as you immerse yourself in it, you can feel its presence. The psychic matrix is the key to unlocking this power. Every person, every life form, any race in any form can potentially give birth to an individual with a psychic matrix. With proper training, such individuals can become psychic users. Some temple elders believe that psychic power is a form of spiritual energy existing among all life. Thus, the resonance between psychic powers can ignore distance. Even across tens of thousands of light years, they can sense each other's presence. Through the stirring of the heart, they can even see prophetic visions. Furthermore, some Temple Knights believe that psychic power is the force of emotion, easily swayed by feelings. Good and evil give psychic users two sides, the light side and the dark side. The path of balance is difficult to maintain. Tors explained it with thorough clarity. Without a doubt, he was a Temple Knight of remarkable talent. Chio, in this era, Temple Knights walk the world. You have ample time to learn about us. I hope all I've said can resolve your doubts. Tor's words undoubtedly provided Meng with a wealth of information about the Temple Knights. He had been curious about what kind of existence the grey-robed warrior was, never expecting to encounter one so soon. Even more unexpected was that the grey-robed warrior was a Temple Knight. Chio, what did you discover in the secret base's database? With the casual chat concluded, they returned to the main topic. A blue light flickered and a holographic screen shot out from the rotund split entity. Before Tors, it formed a holographic map. It was the structural diagram of the secret base. The secret base in the Rift Valley was immense in scale, covering over 100 square kilometers and extending a kilometer deep into the earth. According to the data, this is a biological laboratory and cultivation factory. Its owner is unknown with no relevant data. The central system is password-controlled, lacking the identity information of the actual controller. It was built 175 years ago, originally a selenium mine. Renovation began 35 years ago and was completed 25 years ago. The experiments involved genetic modification of the scurry rat men to make them more intelligent, controlling them via biochips. The cultivation factory started operations 20 years ago, breeding genetically modified scurry rat queens to mass-produce soldier rats. To date, the factory has bred 81.5 million soldier rats, with 81 million shipped off Taluk Star via transport vessels. 5,000,000 soldier rats are still in incubation nests, undergoing accelerated growth through biotechnology, expected to be deployed in 3 months. When infiltrating the base's central system database, Meng was also shocked by his discovery. In 20 years, the secret factory had bred over 80 million soldier rats. 80 million, a scale of breeding so vast it couldn't possibly be for mere labor. Considering the scurry rat men soldiers in the base, many things began to make sense. Clearly, the long peaceful galaxy was on the brink of turmoil. Some factions were preparing for war. Meng also began to form conjectures about why Tors was here and about the identity of the Temple Knights. Tors, our actions tonight have alerted the enemy. You must leave Taluk Star immediately. Why had Tors come to Taluk Star? Why infiltrate the secret base to gather intelligence? This suggested that the organization behind Tors was not entirely ignorant of the secret factory. Beneath his hood, Tors' expression was grim. The data Chio had obtained from the secret factory's database made him realize the gravity of the situation. He had to return to New Sidon immediately to report this to the temple. That night, under the moonlight, the hoverbike raced across the endless desert. Deep into the night, the silence of Dock 63 repair station was shattered by a sudden roar of engines. Out in the desert, a beam of light rapidly approached, accompanied by the roar of engines. The light drew nearer, and moments later a hoverbike emerged from the darkness. Outside the repair station, the hoverbike skidded to a halt. Tors dismounted and hurried inside. Meng also left the hoverbike and followed. Tors went straight to the starship, opened the cockpit canopy and climbed in. Jojo, I have to leave. If I get the chance, I'd love to meet your master. I believe we'll meet again in the future. Li Meng ascended to the front of the ship where the astromech droid's socket was. In that spot lay the saucer-shaped astromech droid. This ship was less a starship and more a starfighter. It was too small with only a single seat inside. Even the astromech droid was mounted externally. Starfighters of this type relied on astromech droids to perform complex calculations for hyperspace navigation to ensure safe travel. The split entity extended a mechanical claw and plugged into the astromech droid's port. The droid, now under external intrusion, was activated. Warning: you have violated Article 3 of the Robot Security Treaty. I have the right to. Amidst the astromech droid's warnings, Li Meng retracted his mechanical claw. Relevant data received. Thank you for your assistance, unidentified droid model. Its attitude changed remarkably fast, warning one moment, thanking the next. This indicated it was at least a Y5 level astromech droid with a high degree of intelligence. Tours, this commission concludes here. It's been a pleasure working with you. With that, Li Meng flew backward, distancing himself from the ship. Tours in the pilot seat removed his hood and smiled. Pleasure working with you as well. Farewell. Saying this, he addressed the astromech droid at the bow, Y6, and let's go. With a click, the canopy sealed shut. The engine roared to life, blue flames erupting from the ship's rear thrusters. The vessel rose vertically, slowly climbing higher above the ground. When it ascended above the repair station, clear of any obstacles, the engine surged with power. The twin rear thrusters emitted long, dazzling blue exhaust trails. The ship shot forward like a startled bird, climbing at a 50-degree angle into the sky, swiftly vanishing into the night. This mission was almost too easy. The ship above was gone and the fading roar of its engines quickly dissipated. The smooth execution left Li Meng feeling that this commission had posed no challenge at all. Beyond the reward, there were other gains. For instance, he had gained a basic understanding of the Temple Knights. Most valuable of all, Li Meng had finally found something truly intriguing: psionic power, strange and wondrous psionic energy. This supernatural phenomenon of psionics fully satisfied Li Meng's intense curiosity. Not good. On the landing pad, the rotund split entity suddenly flickered. Just in time to dodge a dark mass hurtling from behind, a wrench, Tessa's wrench. The wrench missing, its target clattered onto the sandy ground. Tessa, don't be rash. I'm leaving right now. Lost in thought about the mission, Li Meng had nearly forgotten the madwoman in the repair station. No time to use the main door. Li Meng quickly ascended and fled the repair station in a hurry. Inside, Tessa looked up at the fleeing Li Meng. Then she lowered her head expressionless and picked up the wrench from the ground. The night was deep. After leaving the repair station, Li Meng did not head to the outpost but returned directly to his spacecraft. It was not until the next morning that he leisurely entered the outpost's gates. The outpost was as bustling as ever today, though there were far fewer patrons than yesterday. Hey little one, where's your master? Dead. Good riddance. From now on you follow me. As he passed through the hall, Li Meng was stopped by a blue-skinned creature. It was a Kalomi, blue-skinned with a head resembling a serpent's but not quite. The creature was short, under 1.5 meters, with legs that curved forward. It extended a hand like a talon, reaching out to grab Li Meng. Li Meng showed no courtesy to the unwelcome troublemaker. In the hall, a golden arc of electricity flashed, accompanied by a sizzling hum. A bolt of golden lightning shot forth from the rotund body of Li Meng's split entity. In an instant, it crossed several meters and struck the Kalomi, blocking his path. The moment the golden lightning touched the Kalomi's body, he turned to ash, leaving only his clothes scattered on the ground. Lolo? A human sitting at the same table, his face a mask of shock and fury, reached for his gun, but his companion held him back. Seeing the troublesome bounty hunter reduced to ashes by the round robot, the other bounty hunters in the hall who had been watching now wore expressions of fear. What kind of weapon was that? Though there were many weapons capable of reducing carbon-based life forms to ashes, they required special ammunition. But that unidentified robot had merely fired a single golden lightning bolt. For an electric arc to possess such power, what level of energy supply was needed? How could a mere platform achieve this? Li Meng did not leave. Instead, he approached the companions of the Kalomi he had slain. You are angry. Your heartbeats are accelerating. You have the urge to draw your weapons and fire at me. According to probability calculations, there is a 90% chance you will retaliate. Per individual security protocols, I kill it. They sensed something was wrong. What baffled them even more was that they could feel the robot's murderous intent. It was as if in the next moment the robot that had killed their companion would use that golden arc to slay them as well. They had to strike first. This was the unanimous thought of the three at the round table. They rose, drew their guns and fired. Their draw was swift, born of experience. One moved and the other two acted in perfect sync. But fast as they were, Li Meng was faster. Before they could pull the triggers, a dazzling golden lightning bolt shot forth from the split entity's spherical body. This time it was not a single shot but a sustained beam. The winding bolt swept across the three like an electric serpent. The instant it touched them they turned to ash one after another. Only their clothes and blaster pistols remained falling onto the seats. Afterward Li Meng continued forward as if nothing had happened. At the bar Aofri stood leaning against the counter holding a glass filled with a red liquid. She had been there all along watching but never intervening. The security robots in the hall also remained motionless. Aofri, you saw it too. I was defending myself. They were the ones who broke the rules, not me. Li Meng approached Aofri. Before she could speak he explained his actions. After all, this was her territory and he owed her an explanation. Looking down at the little one beside her, Aofri smiled. She took a sip of her drink and said with a hint of a smile, I know. That's why I just watched. Chiu, I really wonder if your master is behind you teaching you how to act. In my experience, robots don't deliberately provoke others. You wanted to kill them but you couldn't attack without cause since they hadn't done anything. Their companion was the one who caused trouble. So you used words to goad them into drawing their weapons, making it look like self-defense. But in everyone's eyes it was you, Chiu, who was defending yourself. A clever move. Aofri was undoubtedly a shrewd woman. She saw through Li Meng's little trick at a glance. Indeed, his earlier actions were designed to provoke the Colomis companions. Li Meng felt those three would be trouble. Rather than letting them ambush him later and cause more problems, it was better to deal with them on the spot. Li Meng detested trouble above all. Aofri, will this cause you any trouble? Even if those people had allies, Li Meng wasn't overly concerned. If he couldn't win, he could always flee. The outer ring was vast with countless outposts and he could always find interesting missions elsewhere. But Aofri was different. The outpost was her home and her entire livelihood. She couldn't just leave, nor would she easily abandon her property. With a smile, Aofri said, bounty hunters are competitors by nature. The strong prey on the weak, that's the truth of the bounty hunter world. As long as it's not a large-scale conflict, the outpost won't interfere in personal vendettas between hunters. Such was the current state of law and order in the Outer Ring. Due to the Galactic Federation's inaction, the Outer Ring had become a lawless land. Gangs and families ran rampant, symbols of chaos, disorder and crime. Enough of these unpleasant matters. You completed this mission well, the employer gave high praise. Come, let's talk inside. Setting her glass on the bar, Aofri swayed her hips and left. Li Meng followed closely, hovering at a height of 1.5 meters. In the hall, the patrons continued their revelry as if nothing had happened. Their reaction showed that they were long accustomed to the violence among bounty hunters. Following Aofri, Li Meng returned to the office. She sat down in the chair behind the desk and pulled out a stack of golden coins from a drawer. This is the reward for the mission, 5,000 faith points in total. This is your share. It was 5 thin gold bricks. Engraved on them were patterns and the minting location along with identification codes and the denomination of 1,000. Li Meng extended his mechanical arm and collected the faith points. Though faith points were of little use to him, neither the Pioneer spacecraft nor its armed units required extra fuel. And repairs and maintenance were handled internally. Money was always useful. Li Meng would never say no to more. Chiu, you did well on this mission. From now on you're my exclusive hunter. Since the dark side of bounty hunting often involves illegal dealings, an official bounty hunter identity is only a burden. Once registered, it exposes your information. So your identity will be that of a freelancer, which will benefit your future operations. Of course, if you need a bounty hunter license, I can register one for you. Li Meng naturally did not place much importance on the identity of a bounty hunter. He did not leave Celia Star to become a bounty hunter. Being a bounty hunter was merely a tool for him to satisfy his thirst for knowledge. Whether one has it or not is irrelevant as long as the ultimate goal remains unchanged. No need, the identity of a free person is quite good, Orchestrated. Do you have any interesting tasks? The more difficult the better. My master enjoys adventures. Tasks that are too easy are quite boring. If I cannot satisfy my master, he will not linger on Talak Star. He wanted to do things that required visiting more places. Although Talak was the trade center of the Eastern Outer Ring Star domain, it was merely a small place. Although Li Meng was very interested in the biological experimental equipment and cultivation devices at that secret factory, there were currently no conditions to acquire that biotechnology. The hunter in hand actively sought higher difficulty tasks, which was the best outcome for Orchestrated. After all, the casualty rate in the bounty hunter profession is extremely high. Open bounty tasks are somewhat better. The dark side tasks are perilous. Without proper caution, they can lead to disastrous ends. The dark side hunters in her hands lose at least a couple of them every year. With a slight smile, Orchestrated took out 3 data discs from the drawer. There are many types of dark side tasks, including bounty tasks, mercenary tasks, and rescue tasks. Bounty tasks mainly involve capturing fugitives wanted by the federal government regardless of life or death, while mercenary tasks are the most dangerous. Their employers are typically gang families from the Outer Ring Star domains who often pay heavily for external assistance to eliminate rivals. Such tasks frequently encounter peers, making the battles exceptionally perilous. Dark side hunters executing such tasks usually have a team behind them. In contrast, rescue tasks may seem much simpler, but they also carry certain dangers. The business of rescue tasks often involves saving smuggling ships trapped in perilous routes due to various reasons. Not only must they overcome natural disasters, but they must also be cautious of the armed forces of various planets in the sector. Of course, this is just the main classification of tasks. There is only one rule on the dark side: as long as the payment is sufficient, there is nothing that cannot be done. Here are 3 tasks that are very suitable for you. 1 is a rescue task where a smuggling ship is trapped in the Storm Nebula route. The reward is generous, but you must arrive within 3 months. The task operates on a first-come, first-served basis. The task seems easy, but it may not be easy to seize. If other hunters arrive first, it will be a wasted trip. The second task is a mercenary task. A certain gang family in the southern outer ring star domain needs external assistance to deal with a war initiated by a rival gang. As for which gang and the task location, you must accept the task to find out. All the information is in the data disk. The third task is from your former employer Chulu's. Due to its certain dangers, I do not recommend you choose this task, as it requires considerable time and effort and also sufficient manpower. The task from former employer Chulu's. Without a moment's hesitation, Meng made his decision. I choose the third task. Orphery verbally expressed her unwillingness for him to accept Tulu's commission task. Yet she included Tulu's task among the 3 tasks. If she truly did not want him to accept Tulu's commission, why would she do this? One can only say that a woman's heart is as deep as the sea, even if she is an alien woman. Meng's choice seemed to be within Orphery's expectations. She felt no surprise at all. Extending her right hand, she pressed down on the data disk for the third task and pushed it to a reachable place. The task information is in the data disk. I won't elaborate further. You can understand it yourself. Leaning forward, Meng extended the mechanical claw, retrieved the data disk from the table and inserted it into the port. The task information was instantly known to Meng. It was still an infiltration task, but more complicated. The task target was a shipyard orbiting a planet named Gala in the north-central ring star domain 0213 sector. Also known as the Gala Dock. The Gala Dock is a large shipyard and is the only one in the central ring star domain capable of constructing giant ships. It is not close to Talak Star. Even taking the shortest route would take over 4 months. The mission's goal is to obtain the registration information of the ships built at the Gala Dock. That is a giant dock, heavily fortified, and infiltrating it is no easy task. Just then the communication disk on the desk lit up. The blue light flickered, projecting a small holographic figure. Citizens of Talak Star, I am Claude, the mayor of Jewish City. For thousands of years the outer ring star domains have suffered from the brutal oppression of the Galactic Federation government. They acquire the most expensive rare minerals at the lowest prices. The Galactic Federation government has decayed. They cannot hear our voices, our needs, and do not care about the myriad races in the outer ring star domains. In their eyes we are merely the cheapest labor tools to promote the prosperity of the inner ring star domains. We can no longer continue to wait. The once powerful Federation government is no more. We must pursue the happy life we desire. We must be independent. We must resist. I declare that I will represent the citizens of Talak to join the Independent Planet Alliance. Citizens of Talak, independence is today, and victory will surely belong to the great Independent Planet Alliance and to us. This is the Declaration of Independence. In the absence of interference, this message will spread throughout the entire galaxy. Talak Star has declared independence. This sudden situation left Orphery somewhat at a loss. Although Meng realized that the Galactic Federation was not as calm as it appeared on the surface. He did not expect the turmoil to arrive so quickly and to occur so close. Could it be that the events of last night stimulated the master behind the secret factory, causing them to act prematurely? The blue light flickered and the mayor's half-figure vanished, replaced by the holographic head of a security robot. Master, we have received declarations of independence from various planets in the outer ring star domain. An unidentified fleet has appeared in the orbit of Talak Star. Hearing this, Orphery frowned slightly. She quickly got up and went to the window to look at the sky outside. Outside, the bounty hunters who received the news rushed out of the barracks, looking at the sky on the streets. Not only the bounty hunters, but all the citizens of Jewish City rushed to the streets, looking at the sky. Above Talak's orbit, a fleet appeared in the atmosphere, which was clearly visible over Jewish City. The fleet consisted of 5 ships. Among them, 4 ships were relatively small, each about 800 meters long. The shape of the ships resembled ants without legs, with smooth hulls that had segmented structures. From the structural design of the ships, it was evident that the rear sections of the hulls had large internal spaces. The largest ship was approximately 1,700 meters long, twice the size of the other ships. The ship's design resembled a space whale with a smooth outer structure and a relatively flat hull. All the ships were painted yellow tin. The Galactic Federation yellow paint is generally seen on engineering ships. However, that fleet was not made up of engineering ships, but rather genuine military vessels. Meanwhile, aboard the fleet flagship in orbit around Talak Star. This fleet belonged to the Independent Planet Alliance. Although the Declaration of Independence was made only today, the Independent Planet Alliance had been preparing for this moment for over half a century. Freedom-class frigates and Independence-class cruisers, these were the warships the Independent Planet Alliance had prepared for conflict. General Oswald Tarek Star has declared independence and joined the Independent Planet Alliance. I trust the Alliance will honor its promises and respect Tarek Star's sovereignty. My people need freedom to overcome their fear of seceding from the Galactic Federation. A powerful fleet stationed here is necessary, but I hope its presence will not disrupt the peace of Tarek Star. In the bridge, the captain clad in a black robe sat upon the command chair. His silhouette appeared human, or perhaps a humanoid alien race. He gazed down at the holographic bust projected from the communicator before him. It was Mayor Claude Collin. He had blue skin and a head resembling an octopus. Mayor Claude, the Independent Planet Alliance will keep its word. It will bring freedom, justice and peace to the people of Tarek Star. Tarek Star holds vital assets of the Alliance, and the Alliance has a duty to protect them. This fleet is here for that purpose. A deep voice resonated from within the hood. It was a voice that inspired trust. Claude harbored no doubt that General Oswald would break his promise. He offered the most flattering words. May war never descend upon Tarek. May the Independent Planet Alliance bring hope to the Outer Rim. May victory belong to the Independent Planet Alliance. A flash of blue light flickered and the communication ceased. In the bridge, numerous scurry rat men in yellow uniforms deftly operated sophisticated equipment. Once they might have been dull and savage, but now they were intelligent. They had gained the ability to pilot starships and traverse the stars. Let's set off. The fleet had arrived at Tarek Star. His mission was complete. Tarek Star was not a strategically vital location, so there was no need to deploy too many ships here. For Freedom-class frigates were sufficient to guard Tarek Star. As you command, General. This ship will proceed to Karpu Star. The adjutant was a scurry ratman with grey fur and a rat-like head. Yet the words that came from his mouth were flawless Federacy standard. In planetary orbit, the flagship's engine suddenly ignited, blazing with blue exhaust. The colossal hull slowly turned, steering into the dark void of space. In the next instant, a flash of azure light burst forth. The immense cruiser vanished instantly, jumping into hyperspace, trailing a streak of blue radiance as it plunged into the depths of the starry expanse. On the planet's surface in Duis City. At the military post inside the office. The arrival of the fleet and the departure of the flagship were observed by Ofra and Li Meng from behind the window. Chio war is coming. Withdrawing her gaze from the window, Ofra returned to her seat with a worried expression. His electronic eye fixed on the sky, Li Meng asked Ofra, which side do you think will win this war? Ofra shook her head. It seems the Independent Planet Alliance made preparations for independence long ago. In terms of potential, they are no match for the Galactic Federation. But the Federation's government structure is bloated, riddled with bureaucracy, and lost in a false sense of prosperity and peace. The Federation may not react in time. After all, since the Great Disarmament 3,000 years ago, the Galactic Federation no longer possesses a powerful fleet. The garrison at New Sidon alone cannot fight an interstellar war. Whether the Independent Planet Alliance can win depends on how the Galactic Federation responds to this rebellion. The Galactic Federation had no powerful fleet under the central government. Ofra's word shocked Li Meng. How could a central government without strong military might maintain peace across the galaxy? Ofra, without the deterrent of a strong military, how does the Galactic Federation government resolve conflicts and disputes among internal factions? In Li Meng's view, disarming in the galactic environment was exceedingly foolish. Even in the most peaceful times, maintaining a powerful military was essential. With a smirk, Ofra revealed a sardonic expression. Through negotiations, debates, majority rule decisions in the Galactic Federation Parliament, and the aggressive intervention of the Templar Order in disputes. That's how the Federation has operated for 3,000 years. The Templar Order again. Li Meng had not previously understood the relationship between the Templar Order and the Galactic Federation government. Now he knew. Clearly the Templar Order served as the armed force for the Galactic Federation Parliament. This explained why the Federation government had disarmed. After all, the Templars possessed formidable power. They were capable of resolving disputes and conflicts among planets and regional governments. Without a standing army, a massive military expenditure was eliminated. It also relieved the financial burden on the Federation's member states. For regional governments, a central government lacking a powerful military was not a bad thing. The disarmament policy was naturally passed by the Galactic Parliament. However, in Li Meng's eyes, this was too extreme. Even if the galactic environment was peaceful, how could peace be built on compromise and negotiation? Without a strong military, there was no resilience against risk. Although the Templars possessed great power, they were not invincible. Once an unexpected event occurred, an internal rebellion or an invasion by a powerful enemy, the Galactic Federation could easily be overwhelmed. Ofra, you know who Turs is, don't you? Slightly turning her head, Ofra looked at Li Meng by the window. She smiled and said, does it matter? That was true. To Ofra, the client's identity was unimportant. What mattered were the mission and the reward. I'm off. Without saying more, Li Meng flew outward. This mission was significant, but even failure would not matter. Li Meng valued not the mission's reward but the data in the central database of Gawler shipyard. As a colossal shipyard, its database surely contained numerous starship blueprints and cutting-edge technological data. This was precisely what Li Meng needed most. He intended to design a large starship capable of interstellar travel. He could draw inspiration from advanced starship designs. The mayor's declaration of independence had changed many things. But for the common citizens of Duis City, their way of life would not change much. In the hall of the military post, bounty hunters returning from outside murmured among themselves. The emergence of the Independent Planet Alliance might alter the situation in the Outer Rim. This could potentially affect the bounty hunters' business. After leaving the military post, Li Meng headed straight for the commercial dock. This mission's destination was the Inner Rim, so a transponder was crucial. It could grant the Pioneer ship a legitimate identity. Over the next 2 days, Li Meng did nothing but wait inside his ship at the commercial dock. Anyone here? Hey, I'm Jean. Sheriff Jean, I've brought the transponder. On the third day, Sheriff Jean arrived as promised. He held a silver-grey metal case in his hand, feeling and tapping the hull. What material is this? A look of curiosity crossed Jean's face. It felt cold and smooth to the touch, not quite like metal whether by feel or appearance. Moreover, it was so seamless that the entire spacecraft seemed to be a single entity. Click! As Jean touched the hull, the left hatch opened. A round, plump, split entity flew out from within. Seeing Li Meng appear, Jean's eyes lit up. He hurried over and handed over the transponder. Here, this is what you wanted. You're lucky. If you had come a day later, there would be no transponder left. Extending a mechanical arm, Li Meng handed Jean a brick of tingold. One hand for the money, the other for the goods. What happened? Li Meng inquired. Shrugging, Jean pointed at the fleet stationed in the planet's orbital sky. The Independent Planet Alliance has taken control of the communication stations in the Outer Ring sector. Now the Outer Ring sector has lost contact with the Middle Ring and Inner Ring sectors. The Outer Ring sector is currently under the control of the Independent Planet Alliance. The channel I knew of was already closed yesterday. So he was indeed very fortunate. Without a transponder, free navigation through the Middle Ring and Inner Ring sectors would be impossible. This would undoubtedly bring unnecessary trouble. Transponder in hand, Li Meng turned and flew toward the hatch. The transaction with Jean was concluded and it was time for him to depart. Hey Ball, who do you think will win in the end, the Independent Planet Alliance or the Galactic Federation? Though it was merely his speculation, Jean felt that the master behind Ball must be no ordinary figure. Moreover, the spacecraft before him was clearly a custom build. The small shipyards in the Outer Ring sector could never produce such an exquisite vessel. Perhaps Ball's master hailed from the Inner Ring sector. Perhaps Ball's master knew some insider information. Behind the hatch, the split entity turned to look at Jean outside. Does it matter? This was a rhetorical question and also an answer to Jean. Before Jean's eyes, the hatch closed, leaving no visible scene from the outside. With a smile, Jean turned and walked toward the hovering motorcycle not far away. Just as Ball had said, who won or lost was unimportant. Because no matter which side claimed victory, Talak Star would not see much change. Like many of Talak Star's inhabitants, his life would unfold only here. Jean mounted the hovering motorcycle and with the roar of the engine he sped away, leaving a trail of dust. Meanwhile, behind him in the dock, with a faint hum of the engine, the linear array engine at the tail of the Pioneer spewed out a fiery tail flame. The spacecraft slowly rose, flying forward, its speed increasing and its nose tilting ever higher. As the tail engine erupted with a dazzling flame, immense thrust propelled the craft skyward, shooting straight into the heavens. The platinum gold hull seemed bathed in a halo under the sunlight. In the city of Duis, many people noticed the Pioneer spacecraft ascending into the sky. It was so exquisite that it compelled passers-by to pause and gaze at its departure. Among them was Tessa from the No. 63 Private Dock Repair Station. Today Tessa welcomed new guests. She stood on the upper deck of an armed gunboat about 30 meters long, looking up at the sky. In her view, a platinum gold spacecraft shot into the heavens. The blazing fiery tail flame was striking. The hull's color reminded her of the robot she had encountered a few days ago. It had a round, plump body as bright and clean as white jade. Its surface was adorned with exquisite golden patterns and its paint scheme closely resembled that of the spacecraft. At an altitude of tens of thousands of meters, driven by surging power, that Pioneer spacecraft streaked into the sky. It smoothly broke free from the planet's gravitational pull and burst through the atmosphere. In the planet's orbit, the Pioneer spacecraft, having exited the atmosphere, brushed past the fleet. A dozen seconds later, a flash of blue light appeared. The Pioneer spacecraft jumped into hyperspace, trailing a blue streak as it plunged into the depths of the cosmos. Org's Nebula? Cilia Star. In a universe wrapped in a golden nebula, Cilia Star had for eons been hurtling toward a star. It was a dazzling blue giant radiating the most beautiful azure hue. Inside a platinum gold cylindrical space within the planet, a massive platinum gold sphere floated silently 50 meters above the ground. In the ocean of data, Li Meng was simultaneously deducing hundreds of technologies. This consumed nearly 99% of the computational resources of the supercore. However, merely developing technology was insufficient. Though a vast amount of computational resources were devoted to technology, Meng also reserved one for the planet's development. Cilia star was enormous, over 10,000 times the volume of Earth. Hollowing out such a planet would be impossible without hundreds of years. Over 2 months had passed since the split entity departed. The expansion of the base within the planet had been ongoing. Beyond spatial expansion industry was also developing. The STC Universal Factory from the colony ship had long been replaced by more advanced larger-scale STCs. To accelerate the base's development, the STC was mass-producing various types of engineering robots at a frantic pace. What exactly is psychic power? The split entity's discoveries were shared with the main body. The Grey Road Warrior was a temple knight. And the eerie psychic power had sparked Meng's immense interest. In the ocean of data, Meng attempted to deduce the existence of psychic power based on known information. But there were no results, no direction, and no clues. Psychic power was a form of energy that physical science could not explain. As for spiritual force, it was an even more elusive and mysterious concept. Moreover, what exactly was a psychic core? Affinity with psychic power. Was it related to one's consciousness, spirit, or soul? If it is related to the soul, could I as a data life form also possess a psychic core? This was possible, though Meng could not confirm the existence of a soul. Yet his own consciousness was undeniably present. Even though he could not observe his own existence within the ocean of data, he could sense that he was an independent entity, not merely a string of data. After a series of complex calculations, Meng reached a conclusion. To explore psychic power, he must find a way to contact a psychic user. I hope this mission can be completed smoothly. If it succeeded, he would have the opportunity to encounter a psychic user. Though the galaxy was on the brink of turmoil, possibly entering an era of chaos lasting centuries or even millennia, Meng remained oddly calm about the external situation. A century, a millennium, or even 10,000 years, Meng would not be overly concerned with the galaxy's state. As the saying goes, the world under heaven, after a long period of division, tends to unite. After a long period of union, it tends to divide. On the grand scale of the galaxy, there were too many uncertainties. Unity and division were destined to be an endless cycle. Meng had always pondered his own purpose for existence. Though he was not human, he possessed a human consciousness and soul. He had to set a goal for himself. Over the years, Meng had been contemplating his future. What goal was worth striving for? He had found it, the most fitting objective. That was to seek the truth, to uncover the mystery of how humanity survived and entered the interstellar age 20,000 years ago. To find the unknown alien race that saved humanity 20,000 years ago. He had calculated the location of the solar system. The solar system was situated within the southern middle ring sector, but its exact coordinates needed to be found. The galaxy was simply too vast. Even with a hyperspace engine capable of fast-at-hand light travel, it was impossible to explore every star system. Even within the territories actually controlled by the Galactic Federation, countless star systems remained unexplored. Over the years, he had been preparing for the long voyage. This trip of the split entity to the Gawler shipyard would shorten the preparation time. In the Outer Ring star sector within the 0319 star zone, the Storm Nebula, an Outer Ring passage station. The Storm Nebula was once a black hole. Drawn by the black hole's gravitational pull, the surrounding space dust and small celestial bodies gradually converged, eventually forming the present-day Storm Nebula. As the nebula orbits the black hole, the small bodies within it perpetually move in erratic patterns. This renders navigation through the Storm Nebula exceedingly perilous for starships. Due to its strategic location, the Galactic Federation carved a passage through the Storm Nebula millennia ago. This route drastically shortened the journey from the inner ring to the outer ring star sectors. Taking alternative routes, a voyage from the inner ring to the outer ring required at least 3 years. However, with the Storm Nebula passage, the hyperspace lane became a straight line cutting across 3 star sectors. It now takes only 7 months to travel from the inner ring to the outer ring. Today, the outer ring station of the Storm Nebula is far from peaceful. In times past, the station was a high-frequency communication relay belonging to the Galactic Federation. But today, the banner of the Galactic Federation has vanished from the station. It has been replaced by the star-embraced banner. The flag is blue, adorned with myriad stars cradled in a pair of hands. It is the banner of the Free Planet Alliance. Just outside the entrance of the Storm Nebula passage, a colossal fleet is sailing into the Storm Channel. Beyond the passage, ships are lined up in a long queue. There are Freedom-class frigates and also the larger Declaration-class destroyers. These are warships sharing the same hull design as the Freedom-class frigates. Only their hulls are more massive, stretching 1.2 kilometers in length. Also present are Independence-class cruisers and the even larger Eclipse-class transport ships. As a giant transport vessel, the Eclipse-class boasts an even larger hull. It is 3 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide, resembling a giant donut. Numerous blue airtight shields line both the interior and exterior of the hull, serving as bay doors. These shields prevent the ship's air from escaping while allowing incoming and outgoing craft to pass unhindered. At a glance, no fewer than 30 ships are still waiting to enter the storm passage. Further out in space, streaks of blue light flicker into existence. Each streak of blue light signifies a starship emerging from hyperspace. These are the arriving vessels of the Free Planet Alliance. Among them are warships and civilian vessels. The warships are queuing while the civilian ships are ordered to wait outside. Just then, amidst the flashing blue lights, a platinum-white starship abruptly emerged from hyperspace, materializing in real space. It was a 50-meter-long boxy ship resembling a coffin. Quite a lively scene. Though the scanning array had detected numerous large vessel signals before the ship dropped out of hyperspace. What he saw upon emerging still startled Meng immensely. He had never witnessed such a gathering of colossal warships. Before the hazy nebula, ships floated like a forest of spears. At the entrance, resembling a storm's eye, massive ships were queuing to enter. The yellow-painted warships with their distinct hull designs were instantly recognizable as belonging to the Free Planet Alliance. This grand spectacle was both awe-inspiring and a stark reminder of imminent war. "This is Storm Nebula Passage Control calling the Pioneer. Please reduce speed and stay clear of the fleet. Await fleet passage." Inside the ship's main hall, Meng received the call from Storm Nebula Control. Received, reducing speed and awaiting clearance. In the dark void of space, the Pioneer, which had been flying forward at high speed, gradually decelerated and finally came to a halt. By now, numerous civilian spacecraft were already waiting in the surrounding space. There were private yachts and commercial freighters, ships both large and small. The smaller ones measured 20 to 30 meters, while the larger ones spanned hundreds of meters. Both civilian and commercial vessels were equipped with some degree of self-defense weaponry. It seems the Free Planet Alliance is invading the mid-ring star sector. Using the Pioneer sensor array, Meng observed the Free Planet Alliance fleet outside the passage. A month and a half had passed since departing Tarak Star. They had made 32 jumps and switched hyperspace lanes 32 times. 5 of those days were spent traveling through space at sublight speed. The principle of a hyperspace engine is to tear open a window, allowing the ship to enter hyperspace. In hyperspace, the law of real space that nothing can exceed the speed of light does not apply. Depending on the engine's grade, a ship can travel at tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of times the speed of light. The Pioneer's hyperspace engine is grade 1.0. A lower grade indicates higher speed, approximately 1,000,000 times the speed of light. Hyperspace is not a dimension separate from real space, but a space attached to it. Matter in real space casts mass shadows within hyperspace. Should a ship collide with one, it would be destroyed. Thus, hyperspace lanes are of paramount importance, for they are safe routes charted step by step by the ancients. As the universe is dynamic, celestial bodies drifting through space often intrude upon hyperspace lanes. Therefore, before a hyperspace jump, the ship's computer performs a simple calculation on the lane to eliminate risks. If one foregoes established hyperspace lanes and takes a new route, complex calculations are required to identify obstacles along the path, placing immense demands on the ship's scanning array. Ordinary civilian ships rarely risk taking new routes. In the cosmos, traveling from one point to another generally cannot be done in a straight line. One must change hyperspace lanes repeatedly to finally reach the destination. Is the Free Planet Alliance trying to wage a blitzkrieg? Meng thought of the Free Planet Alliance. Their reaction had been far too swift. It had only been a little over a month since their declaration of independence. And within a month they had assembled a massive fleet advancing towards the inner ring star sector. This fleet certainly did not represent the entirety of the Free Planet Alliance's military strength. In other directions, such as the southern and northern outer ring star sectors, even more fleets must be invading the mid-ring star sector. If the Free Planet Alliance succeeds in controlling a third of the mid-outer ring star sectors, the Galactic Federation's fate is grim. The mid-ring star sector is nothing like the backward outer ring. Should the Free Planet Alliance seize control of the mid-ring, they would gain access to advanced industrial capabilities. By then, the gap between the Free Planet Alliance and the Galactic Federation would shrink considerably. As Meng waited patiently, time trickled away. What Meng hadn't anticipated was that the wait would stretch to 3 days. On the third day, finally, no more warships of the Free Planet Alliance emerged from hyperspace outside the Storm Passage. Since Meng's arrival, a total of 71 warships had sailed into the Storm Passage. The Storm Channel has been opened for civilian ships. Please line up to enter. With the announcement from the control tower, the eager civilian vessels rushed towards the Storm Channel. Most civilian ships are small, with the largest not exceeding a kilometer. They can accommodate dozens of spacecraft entering the Storm Channel simultaneously. Unlike the warships of the Free Planet Alliance, which can only enter one by one. Outside the Storm Channel, hundreds of spacecraft streak toward it, leaving long trails of flame behind. At this moment, whoever has the stronger propulsion can be the first to enter the Storm Channel. Among the many spacecraft, a golden streak of light surged ahead. It resembled a comet racing through the starry sky, surpassing one ship after another. Ultimately, it stood out, leaving all the other ships behind and charging into the surging Storm Channel. This is too fast. Could it be an interstellar fighter? That ship is truly beautiful, though its shape is a bit strange. Is it a custom-built ship? The astonishing speed of the Pioneer ship startled the captains of the civilian vessels trailing behind. Its speed was comparable to that of an interstellar fighter, leaving an unforgettable impression. The so-called Storm Channel is a tunnel within the Storm Nebula. It has a width of about 3 kilometers and is not a straight line but rather winds forward. On both sides of the tunnel some fixed floating devices can be seen. These are force field generators, crucial equipment for maintaining the tunnel's existence. The Pioneer ship is flying at high speed within the Storm Channel. The fiery tail flame emitted from its rear made the ship appear as a crimson streak of light darting through the channel. In just 3 minutes Meng arrived at the first jump point. As this segment of the channel is a straight line, it allows for short-distance jumps. Within the Storm Channel a blue light flashed and the speedily flying Pioneer ship suddenly vanished. Only a long blue streak dashed toward the depths of the channel. Seconds later, at the end of the straight line of the Storm Channel, a blue light surged from the void and the Pioneer ship jumped out of hyperspace. 5 days later, outside the orbital station in the Storm Channel. In the space outside the Storm Channel, blue streaks of light surged from the entrance. One after another civilian ships jumped out of hyperspace, including the Pioneer ship. Finally out. Meng thought to himself as he gazed at the familiar dark space outside. Although the scenery within the Storm Channel was nice, seeing it for several days had become tiresome. The view outside was much more pleasant even if the naked eye could only see endless darkness. Yet it still allowed one to feel the vastness of the universe. That overwhelming sensation would never grow old. Let's continue on, but there's still a long way to our destination. This place is on the edge of the central star region, at least 10,000 light-years away from the Geller dock. Without a moment's pause, the Pioneer ship, just having jumped out of hyperspace, jumped back into hyperspace. A flash of blue light and the Pioneer ship suddenly vanished. A blue streak pulled away, speeding into the depths of space. The starry sky was boundless, dark, cold, and eerily silent. In the darkness of the universe, a flash of blue light appeared as a platinum-colored ship suddenly jumped out of hyperspace. What's going on? Mass shadow warning. The mass shadow warning is a necessary system for spacecraft. It can detect whether there are mass shadows ahead while in hyperspace. If a mass shadow is detected, the ship will automatically exit hyperspace before collision. However, this system is not very reliable and is filled with uncertainties. This is because hyperspace is filled with various interferences that greatly affect the ship's scanning array. Sometimes the mass shadow warning system may experience delays, causing the ship to fail to exit hyperspace in time and collide directly. Even if it exits hyperspace, it may collide due to being too close to the obstacle. The ship jumped out of hyperspace prematurely despite not having reached the end of the channel. In order to reach the destination faster, Meng chose not to take the busy main route of hyperspace, opting instead for a shorter route. Looking outside, Meng discovered the culprit that caused the ship to exit hyperspace. Not far ahead in space, about 1,000,000 kilometers away, there was a cylindrical metal device. It was about 50 meters tall and approximately 30 meters in diameter. The data detected by the scanning array indicated that it was a gravity generator. It could create a gravity well, producing a large mass shadow in hyperspace. Although if the ship were to collide with it, nothing would happen, or it would simply pass through. However, the mass shadow warning system would be activated, forcing the ship to exit hyperspace. Is this pirates? At that moment, the ship's scanning array detected 3 ship signals. They were rapidly approaching, and using optical equipment Meng had already locked onto the ships. They were 3 interstellar fighters painted in a deep teal color. The bodies were relatively large, exceeding 25 meters in length. In the center was a diamond-shaped cockpit with long wings on either side. You're unlucky to run into us. Your ship is nice. Immediately shut down your engines and we will guarantee your safety. The communication from the pirates arrived even before they appeared. Since it was a public frequency communication, Meng received the signal. You are pirates. In the sea of data, Meng felt a surge of excitement. This was his first encounter with pirates, a day worth commemorating. However, it was surprising that he had not encountered any pirates in the chaotic and lawless outer star region. He never expected to meet them in the relatively safer central star region. Do you think we don't look like pirates? Meng wasn't sure how they looked, nor would he confirm their identity based solely on speculation. However, compared to pirates, Meng thought they resembled some kind of planetary security patrol. I don't think so. I believe pirates wouldn't have standard-issue fighters. Even if they did, they would have their own unique paint jobs. How could pirates be so orderly? Upon seeing the fighters for the first time, Meng did not believe they were pirates. A maybe. Regardless of whether we are pirates or not, what we have to do will not change. Perhaps we can talk. If you continue to approach, I will have to take some drastic measures. If Meng had been unsure whether they were pirates before, he was now certain they were not. Drastic measures. How, you only have one ship, what can you do? Hearing the laughter from the communicator, Meng did not get angry. He merely displayed a slight show of force. Outside at the bow of the Pioneer ship, 4 golden swirling runes glowed with a golden light. In the next moment, 4 golden lightning bolts shot forth from the swirling runes. The 4 bolts did not shoot out individually but converged in the space ahead of the ship, creating a parallel path. In the next moment, 4 golden lightning bolts shot forth from the swirling runes. The 4 bolts did not shoot out individually but converged in the space ahead of the ship, creating a parallel path. This process lasted 5 seconds, after which an even more colossal golden lightning bolt shot forth. The golden lightning resembled a writhing, roaring electric dragon. Its dazzling golden radiance was particularly striking against the dark void of space. It instantly traversed the starry expanse, swept past the 3 incoming interstellar fighters, and slammed into the gravity generator. Sound cannot travel in a vacuum, so the explosion of the gravity generator was inaudible. All that could be seen was the generator instantly melting upon contact with the lightning, triggering a catastrophic internal detonation. It transformed into a massive fireball that expanded violently, sweeping across the surroundings. What kind of weapon is that? How can it be so powerful? Spread out. It's an ion-type weapon, don't let it chain strike us. Damn, the gravity generator is destroyed, Hes trying to escape. Quick, launch ion torpedoes to disable his ship. The disappearance of the gravity generator's signal behind them startled the 3 pilots. They immediately realized their opponent intended to flee. Without the gravity generator, he would need only a dozen seconds to jump into hyperspace. A blue light flickered as each of the 3 fighters launched an ion torpedo. The torpedoes, trailing long blue flames, carved a perfect arc through the dark void of space, hurtling toward the Pioneer spacecraft. Ion torpedoes. Seeing the primitive missile-like weapon launched at him, a flicker of surprise crossed Li Meng's eyes. What era was this? Guided kinetic weapons had long been obsolete. The advanced development of electronic systems made missiles highly susceptible to jamming, causing them to lose their targets. Since the enemy had initiated an attack, Li Meng would not be lenient. In the dark void of space, the ion torpedoes, which had been speeding through the starry expanse, suddenly executed a 180-degree turn and hurtled back toward the interstellar fighters. The ion torpedoes have been hacked for counter-battery fire. Evade, evade. No time. Destroy the torpedoes now. In the darkness of space, the 3 interstellar fighters opened fire at the incoming ion torpedoes. Orange beams shot forth from the twin blaster cannons beneath each fighter's nose. Their rate of fire was slow, the bolts scattered and sparse. Boom! 2 of the interstellar fighters attempted evasive maneuvers but failed to intercept and were struck by the ion torpedoes. Blue arcs of electricity erupted across their hulls, instantly paralyzing the fighters. All systems went offline and the engines at their tails died. Only 1 fighter succeeded in intercepting an ion torpedo with its blaster cannons. The torpedo was destroyed less than 100 meters from the fighter, erupting into a dazzling blue flash. At that moment, a golden lightning bolt streaked across the starry expanse. It pierced through the blue radiance of the exploding ion torpedo and struck the interstellar fighter directly. The fighter's hull immediately erupted with concentric rings of golden electric current. All equipment in the cockpit severely overloaded, sparks flew, and every system went offline. The power of the disintegrator cannon was adjustable. At low power, it functioned as an ion weapon capable of disabling electronic equipment. In the dark void of space, the 3 powerless interstellar fighters drifted inertially. Not intending to destroy them outright, Li Meng maneuvered the Pioneer spacecraft closer to one of the fighters. The fighter's cockpit was transparent, revealing the pilot inside gesticulating wildly and shouting something inaudible. From their physique, they appeared somewhat human, likely a humanoid alien race. As the left hatch opened, a round rolling split individual emerged. In space, the split individual drifted slowly. As it approached the interstellar fighter, Li Meng could finally see the pilot inside the cockpit clearly. It was a human, a Caucasian of European descent. Moreover, it was a woman with long golden hair that reached her waist. She pounded on the glass canopy, shouting something unintelligible. Ignoring her, Li Meng moved to the nose of the fighter, approaching the astromech droid. Due to the fighter's small size and limited space, it could not accommodate a high-power onboard computer. Therefore, an additional astromech droid was required to calculate the hyperspace route. Of course, the astromech droid's role was not limited to calculating hyperspace coordinates. They also served as the pilot's best assistant, capable of performing technical repairs on the fighter. A Y-2 astromech droid. Looking at the massive, nearly meter-wide astromech droid nestled in the recess of the fighter's nose, a flicker of disappointment crossed Li Meng's eyes. The fact that it could accommodate such a low-end astromech droid indicated that this interstellar fighter was a relic. Even if it were newly produced, its model likely dated back thousands of years. No wonder the hull was so large, nearly 30 meters in length. One would think interstellar fighters prioritize small frames for superior firepower. The smaller the frame, the harder it was to hit by ship-mounted weapons. Li Meng reached forward with a mechanical claw and inserted it into the port of the incapacitated Y-2 astromech droid. The Y-2 astromech droid was connected to the fighter's central processor, providing a pathway to hack the fighter's systems. As Li Meng infiltrated the Y-2 astromech droid's database, the incapacitated Y-2 astromech droid and the interstellar fighter were reactivated in sequence. All systems came back online. In the cockpit, seeing the systems reboot, the pilot's face lit up with joy. However, when she tried to control the fighter, she found no response. Don't bother. All systems are under my control now. There's nothing you can do. The voice from the communicator made the female pilot freeze. She took a deep breath and tentatively asked, "Can we talk?" "I wanted to talk earlier, but you refused. What now you want to negotiate?" At this a flicker of embarrassment crossed the female pilot's face. "Our target was only the ship. We didn't intend to harm you. And as you said, we're not pirates. So I should be thanking you." Susan was momentarily speechless. Though they weren't pirates, their actions were no different. She wouldn't deny that. "All right, if you're not pirates, why are you doing what pirates do?" Meng found no useful information in the Y2 Astromic Droids database. He only uncovered some details about the fighter's model. The twin-blade class interstellar fighter was the standard-issue fighter of the New Galactic Republic 5,000 years ago. After the Galactic Federation was established, this model was retired. The New Galactic Republic was the unified government before the Galactic Federation ruling the galaxy for over 8,000 years. As to how it fell, Meng did not know. The Y2 Astromic Droids database contained no information on that matter. Taking a deep breath, Susan decided to tell the truth. "We are fighter pilots for the Reformation Society. We intercept passing ships to raise funds to strengthen our organization. Piracy is one of the society's primary sources of income. While it's nothing to boast about, a little sacrifice is necessary for our greater goal. Reform society. Grand ambitions?" Although unaware of the nature of this organization, Meng held a deep disdain in his heart. A pirate is a pirate. Even with grand ambitions, they are merely idealistic pirates. Their reasoning for engaging in piracy is utterly shameless, and how far can their aspirations truly reach? At the end of the day, they are nothing more than a group of unprincipled, hypocritical individuals. They know they are doing wrong but concoct excuses to numb their conscience. Retracting his mechanical claw, Meng turned and flew towards the Pioneer spaceship. A pirate is a pirate. Even if you possess grand ambitions, it cannot conceal the fact that you are pirates. With such a lack of principles, regardless of your lofty goals, success is destined to elude you. In the cockpit, Susan fell silent. She too felt that such actions held no meaning. Yet once certain steps are taken, one can only compromise time and again. She spoke softly, "I don't care, and my companions won't either. As long as the people of Autor Star can be liberated, everything is worth it." Autor Star. On his way back to the spaceship, Meng heard the woman's murmurs. In the information database, he located Autor Star on the star map. Autor Star is situated in the 0291 sector of the Eastern Central Ring Star Zone, approximately 700 light-years away, and is rather remote, not located on the main trade routes. However, none of this concerned him. After returning to the Pioneer spaceship, Meng activated the engines. The rear engines roared to life, spewing fiery trails. With powerful thrust, the Pioneer spaceship gradually turned and charged into the dark starry sky. Moments later, a flash of blue brilliance flickered. In an instant, the Pioneer spaceship vanished, jumping into hyperspace, leaving behind a long streak of blue light as it sped into the depths of space. Shortly after Meng departed, the three disabled interstellar fighters sequentially rebooted their systems. "Susan, are you all right?" The recently approached spaceship had come close to Susan's fighter, and no one knew what had transpired. Concern for their companion prompted the other two pilots to maneuver their fighters closer to Susan. In the cockpit, Susan wore a dazed expression, lost in thought. After a while, she snapped back to reality, noticing her companions drawing near. Fine, let's head back." Susan initiated the engines, and the fighter's rear engines erupted with dazzling blue flames. With immense power, the fighter surged toward the dark starry sky. Seeing this, the two quickly piloted their fighters to follow. Moments later, 3 streaks of blue light flashed through the dark expanse, restoring tranquility. Eastern Central Ring Star Zone 024 Sector. Gela Planet, Gela Dock. Gela Planet is a mineral-rich world abundant in various rare minerals. Over 10,000 years ago, a human research vessel discovered this mineral-rich star and named it Gela. After a series of planetary modifications, Gela became a habitable world. From a barren planet, it transformed into a blue forest world. However, the beauty of Gela was short-lived. Since joining the Technological Alliance, Gela shifted towards heavy industry. After millennia of development, Gela became desolate, once more devoid of life. The planet's surface is dotted with numerous mines and towns dominated by refining factories. An enormous orbital dock has also been constructed in the planet's orbit. As one of the few colossal docks under the Galactic Federation, Gela Dock is designed to accommodate over 100 types of ships, ranging from private shuttles to gigantic civilian vessels and warships. Today, Gela Planet welcomed an unexpected guest. In the outer space of the planet, deep within the dark void, flashes of blue light shimmered. One by one, ships emerged from hyperspace, trailing long streaks of blue light. Among them, a platinum-colored ship had an extremely peculiar shape. It measured about 50 meters long and was square-shaped, resembling a flying coffin. Yet its milky white hull and exquisitely crafted golden runes lent it an air of mystery. Is this Gela Planet? It truly is magnificent. Gela Planet is a dark-colored world, not particularly beautiful and quite desolate. However, the dock circling the planet makes Gela appear truly awe-inspiring. The scale of the colossal dock is astounding. Its vastness is nothing short of a miracle. Not only is it grand, but it is also bustling with activity. Thousands of civilian ships are lined up in multiple traffic lanes entering and exiting the dock. The dock is not merely a docking facility, it integrates refining, forging, and light-heavy industries resembling a city in itself. In addition to freight ports, the dock also features commercial ports and private docks. At the freight ports dock, numerous giant mineral transport vessels can be seen unloading cargo. They have the most eye-catching hull, square-shaped with the cargo holds integrated as one. Meanwhile, at the commercial port, numerous Nebula-class passenger ships and private vessels are taking off and landing. The bustling scene is akin to a busy thoroughfare. This is the Pioneer spaceship transponder code Y1Y8Y7 calling Geller Dock's interstellar tower requesting to land. Received. Pioneer spaceship, please land at Dock C18. A navigation route has been planned. The interstellar tower responded swiftly. Judging by the voice, it was likely a service robot from the tower. Meng also received the route planning information from the interstellar tower. Piloting the spaceship, Meng followed the navigation route to the designated dock. Dock C18 is situated in the living area and features a maintenance station with 7 medium-sized landing pads. The maintenance station is semi-enclosed, located in the outer layer of the orbital dock. The outer gate is sealed by an airtight shield to prevent air from escaping. At a glance, such docks are filled with blue airtight shields. Meng maneuvered the spaceship through the airtight shield and entered the maintenance station. On one of the landing pads, the spaceship gently descended, hovering just 10 centimeters above the ground. As the hatch opened, a rounded, segmented individual flew out. As Meng exited the spaceship, the hatch quickly closed behind him. "Hello, I am the maintenance technician robot. How may I assist you?" It was a small, short robot about 1.3 meters tall, humanoid in form with hands and feet and a round disc-shaped head resembling a hat. It approached step by step. Although somewhat mechanical, it was quite nimble. As it moved forward, Meng circled around it and came to its rear. The mechanical claw extended, inserting into a port at the back of its head. "What are you doing? You have violated robot security regulations article." Article? It malfunctioned, curling up on the ground, appearing even smaller. "Hey, what are you doing to my robot?" A small figure with a wrench emerged from the other side of the spaceship. Seeing a rounded robot bullying her maintenance technician, she scolded. Meng withdrew the mechanical claw and turned to face the owner of the voice. There is a small blue being named Vaya. The maintenance technician robot's information database contains her profile, and she is also the robot's owner. The small blue beings belong to a humanoid alien race whose home planet is Water Blue Star. Water Blue Star is located in the Northeast Ring Star region, Sector 0264, and is an ocean planet. She is very small, about 1 meter tall, with azure skin that appears as if it has a crystalline sheen, making her look translucent. With an 80 similarity to humans, she stands on 2 legs, has hands and a head. The differences lie in her feet and facial features. The small blue beings have webbed feet which facilitate swimming. They also lack hair, having bald, smooth heads. Their ears are pointed and can be as long as 10 centimeters. Due to their petite stature, their ears appear quite large. Their faces resemble humans but lack noses, having only 2 nostrils. Their eyes are water blue, very clear and beautiful. This race possesses excellent memory, learning quickly, and one can often see small blue beings in various positions, although they do not conform to human aesthetic standards. However, due to their intelligence and quick acquisition of human language, humans are very willing to accept them. Many political departments in the Galactic Federation have small blue beings employed. Apologies, beautiful miss, your robot's language system has encountered some issues and I have repaired the bug. At this moment, the maintenance technician robot system came back online. He stood up, his round head looking left and right. When he saw the split individual, he asked, "Hello, how may I assist you?" This time the maintenance technician robot spoke in water blue language, which is the mother tongue of the small blue beings. During the intrusion of the maintenance technician robot's information database, Meng discovered that the robot's language system had a bug. This caused a portion of the water blue language data to be missing, resulting in garbled text. Therefore, Meng casually repaired it, bringing the water blue language of the maintenance technician robot back online. "Pan, you can finally speak water blue language, that's wonderful." Upon hearing the maintenance technician robot speak water blue language, Vaya appeared very pleased. She hurriedly moved forward and gave the robot a hug. "Thank you. It has always been my regret that Pan could not speak water blue language. I am truly grateful to you. Please tell me, what do you need? Everything is free as a token of my gratitude. By the way, where is your owner?" Releasing Pan, Vaya glanced at the spaceship beside her. This spaceship was indeed unique. She had never seen this model before. It should not be from the Geller dock. It was a bit dirty, covered in dust. Could it have come from the storm passage? Let's clean the spaceship, nothing else is needed. Meng also noticed that his spaceship was a bit dirty. "All right, leave it to me." Without saying much, Meng flew out towards the maintenance station. The Geller dock was too large. He needed the structure map of the Geller dock to find the location of the central information database. Finding the structure map of the dock was the next task on his agenda. After leaving the maintenance station, Meng followed the metal corridor to find the elevator. He then took the elevator to the maglev bus station. This was a type of passenger bus that traveled within the dock, able to quickly transport guests between locations inside the dock. On the platform, Meng looked left and right, seemingly searching for something. The platform was not large, it was just a small stop. More than 10 people were waiting for the bus to arrive. Found it! The station map on one side of the platform caught Meng's attention, and he quickly flew over. Before the station map, Meng recorded the information of the available stops. Let's go check out the market. Where there are people, there is bound to be conflict, and where there is conflict, law enforcement is necessary. The local government's police vehicle might have the structure map of the dock. Even if not, a detailed route map is surely available. Bus number 017 is about to arrive, please prepare to board. At that moment, a reminder about the bus impending arrival sounded through the platform speaker. Soon a bulky maglev bus appeared at the end of the magnetic track. Slowing from fast to slow, it eventually came to a stop at the station. As the doors opened, the people who had been waiting at the station hurriedly boarded the bus. Meng was among them, following the crowd onto the maglev bus. The maglev bus inside the dock resembled the high-speed trains Meng was familiar with. Only the propulsion method was different. Maglev trains are more stable, faster, and have larger interior spaces. After stopping for about 3 minutes, the maglev bus set off again. Accelerating from slow to fast, it ultimately vanished into the magnetic track. After about 10 minutes of traveling through the magnetic track, the outside suddenly became spacious. The maglev bus exited the magnetic track and arrived at a residential area. The residential area resembled a massive city filled with metallic skyscrapers. Located on one side of the inner ring of the dock, the sky above is the dark universe. Due to a layer of magnetic field shield outside, it prevents the loss of air. Though it seems to be in a vacuum, it is actually a habitable environment with breathable oxygen. In the residential area, there is a circular magnetic track bridge, and the maglev bus speeds along the bridge, traversing the residential area. The magnetic track bridge is suspended above the residential area, formed by circular magnetic generators. They are spaced every 50 meters, arranged in the air. Market station in Zone 03 is about to arrive. Passengers preparing to disembark should get ready. Half an hour later, the maglev bus was nearing its destination. In the compartment, Meng honestly left his seat and headed to the waiting area by the door. This maglev bus seemed to have been in operation for quite some time. In some hard-to-reach corners, it was a bit dirty and messy. The passengers on the bus were relatively well behaved. Those sitting alone sat quietly, while those with companions whispered to each other. The security situation was much better than in the Outer Ring Star region. If it were in the Outer Ring Star region, one could expect to find quite a few corpses on the bus. In an environment without order and legal constraints, even minor conflicts could result in casualties. As the maglev bus exited the enclosed magnetic track, the moon station arrived. Outside was another residential area, even larger, with commercial docks on both sides for large merchant ships to land. As the doors opened, the passengers waiting in the waiting area poured out. On the platform, Meng followed the flow of people leaving the platform and entering an elevator going down. It's so lively. Upon exiting the elevator and following the crowd, Meng stepped into a bustling world. It was like a market. Shadows surged in the streets and alleys, bustling with activity. The streets were not very wide, with numerous vendors on both sides piled high with goods. From time to time, hovering motorcycles and vehicles whizzed past the street, causing a flurry of curses in their wake. What are you looking at? This place does not serve robots. Hurry up and get lost, don't disturb my business. In front of a stall, Meng paused for a moment. The stall was a hovering cart filled with various peculiar living creatures. This was a snack stall, and those creatures were the ingredients being deep fried. Freshly killed and freshly fried, at least they were very fresh. Meng paid little attention to the owner's scolding. After all, robots do not eat or drink, so it was not surprising for the owner to have such an attitude towards a robot. Continuing forward, Meng left the stall behind. Becoming an AI has truly made me lose a lot of fun, he muttered to himself as he floated down the street. Though he cared a bit, Meng did not dwell on it too much. One must look ahead. Merely being alive was already a rare thing, so one should not ask for too much. He was not the kind of person to give up on himself over a minor setback. Where are the patrol officers? And what about the security robots? As he pressed on, Meng wandered aimlessly down the twisting streets. The streets were bustling, filled with a myriad of strange alien races, truly dazzling. Yet Meng did not see any officers maintaining order or security robots. Create some chaos to lure out the security robots. After some thought, Meng decided against it. He had important matters to attend to and could not afford to attract the attention of the security system. I'll search slowly, I'll eventually find it. Meng silently resolved. With this mindset, he no longer felt anxious and leisurely enjoyed the lively atmosphere of the market. Let go of me, you stinky hunk of metal, let go. Suddenly, in the bustling street, Meng came to a halt. He looked left and right, eventually gazing into a small alley on his left. He heard a voice very youthful and delicate with a hint of urgency. More importantly, the language she spoke was familiar Mandarin. In a world 20,000 years later, hearing Mandarin again was something Li Meng could not remain indifferent to. He flew towards the alley and peered inside. Security robot. In the alley, Li Meng saw a security robot grappling with a little girl dressed in a grey cloak. The security robot had grabbed the little girl's hand, preventing her from escaping. Her entire body was wrapped in grey robes, obscuring her face. Isn't this the moment to heroically rush in and save the damsel? With this thought, Li Meng chuckled to himself. He finally encountered a scene reminiscent of a hero saving a beauty from movies and novels. Having made up his mind, Li Meng dashed into the alley. "Hey, you stinky hunk of metal, let go of that girl." Though he shouted this, he had already rushed up to the security robot. As the security robot turned its head, a bolt of golden lightning shot out from its split body. In the alley, a dazzling golden arc flickered. The arc instantly crossed a distance of over 10 meters and struck the security robot. Golden electric current surged chaotically across the blue-painted security robot. Its mechanical body trembled violently and collapsed to the ground. Though this was a hero saving the beauty moment, Li Meng did not pay attention to the little girl. Instead, he hurried forward to the fallen security robot. The mechanical claw extended and inserted into the port in the security robot's mind. He was looking for the security robot and did not expect to find it so quickly. Thank you. The voice was very young, tinged with curiosity and timidity. "You haven't left yet? More security robots will arrive soon, don't let yourself get caught again." The little girl did not leave, she took off her hood. As the hood fell, a cascade of black hair and that familiar face of a compatriot entered Li Meng's sight. Seeing the little girl, Li Meng was astonished. He never expected that 20,000 years later he would not only hear Mandarin but also see a fellow compatriot. Though he was no longer human, he still had the soul of one. Encountering a compatriot still made him feel a sense of kinship. She squatted down, looking at Li Meng with curiosity. "What are you doing?" As she squatted down, the exquisite aqua-blue dress under the grey robe became barely visible. More importantly, from this angle he saw more than he should have. "Get up, I saw it." Li Meng felt quite speechless. This girl really did not know how to protect herself. The mechanical claw inserted into the security robot's port sparked fiercely. "Did you see?" The little girl looked puzzled and lowered her head to check. Upon seeing, her face flushed and she hurriedly stood up. She lowered her head a bit embarrassed and whispered, "It's okay, you're just a robot." As soon as she said it was okay, her tone shifted. Her expression changed and she angrily pointed at Li Meng, saying, "How can it be okay? You have to take responsibility." Responsibility? Li Meng rolled his eyes inwardly. What a little brat, how old could she possibly be? He scanned the little girl up and down. Upon seeing her face, Li Meng was amazed. She was truly exquisite, with skin as white and flawless as jade. He had never seen such a cute and beautiful little girl. She would definitely grow into a great beauty. Judging by her age, she probably wouldn't exceed 10 years old. "I am a robot, I cannot take responsibility. Little girl, my name is Chio Chio. Don't think about me or there's no chance for us. Goodbye." Retracting the mechanical claw, the split body shot into the sky. "Come back, don't run, come back to me." In response to the little girl's cries, Li Meng left without looking back. In the blink of an eye, he vanished from the little girl's sight. Seeing Li Meng run away, the little girl in the alley grasped her grey robe and was about to chase after him. Just as she was about to run out of the alley, several security robots appeared at the alley's entrance. Upon seeing the security robots, the little girl's expression changed slightly. Dejectedly, she released her grip on the grey robe. She knew she could not escape now. In an unseen corner above the alley, Li Meng watched as the security robots took the little girl away. He had done something unnecessary. In the information database of the security robots, Li Meng found a missing persons notice. That little girl's identity was not simple. The security robots were there to find her. "Little girl, I hope you grow up healthy and have a happy and beautiful future." After 20,000 years, encountering a compatriot with Chinese blood made Li Meng feel naturally delighted. This indicated that his guess was correct. He was not the only one who survived. Moreover, the colonial ships that left Earth were not limited to the one that crashed on Cilia Star. It was not until the security robots and the little girl disappeared around the corner of the alley that Li Meng finally flew away from his hiding place. He returned to the bustling street. While flying forward, Li Meng sorted through the information he had obtained from the security robots. The structural diagram of the dock was available, but it was not very detailed. After all, it was just a police robot, so it couldn't possibly possess detailed structural diagrams of the dock. However, knowing where the core area was would be sufficient. Regardless, a forceful invasion was unavoidable, because the important areas of the dock not only prohibited airspace but also barred outsiders from entering. Why is Ture's communication code reacting? In the elevator heading to the platform, Li Meng suddenly received a signal from a communication code. The data disk given to him by Orchestrated contained the access code to contact Tuers. Li Meng had made some settings for the access code. Within a certain range, the signal of the communication code could be received. The platform arrived. Following the crowd out of the elevator, Li Meng entered the platform. Looking around, Li Meng flew to a relatively concealed corner. Blue light flickered and a small full-body holographic image appeared in the air before Li Meng. Chiu? Chiu seemed very surprised. But then he realized something. Chiu, did you accept the mission from Geller Shipyard? He did not hide it, nor could he, as he would eventually have to meet the employer. Yes, I accepted the mission from Geller Shipyard. Chiu, are you near Geller Shipyard? I suddenly received the signal from the communication code. I just jumped out of hyperspace in my ship. I am heading to Geller Shipyard for an important matter. Chiu, I am a temple knight and this identity prevents me from helping you openly. I'm sorry. Li Meng was merely curious why Chiu had appeared on the Geller planet. He also knew that given Chiu's identity he could not help him. Li Meng had not sought Chiu's help either. Though a temple knight was powerful, an infiltration mission was best carried out alone. Having an extra person would only be restrictive and cumbersome. It's all right. I just wanted to confirm if you were nearby. Your arrival is perfect. I am about to act. With you here, I don't need to go to New Sidon to find you. If nothing goes wrong, I can complete the mission in 3 hours. Chiu must have turned back midway and did not return to New Sidon. There wasn't enough time. His ship, no matter how fast, could not outpace the Pioneer. He must have received a mission from the temple while on his way back to New Sidon. The findings on Tarek could be reported verbally via long-range communication first. It wouldn't be too late to hand over the data disk after completing the mission. Of course, this was just Li Meng's speculation. Whether it was true remained unknown. Then he'll wait for your good news, Chiu. I need to dock. The communication ended and the blue light screen vanished. Li Meng had never expected Chiu to appear on the Geller planet. Li Meng was somewhat curious about Chiu's purpose for coming to the Geller planet. Given his status as a temple knight, he could not engage in anything that would disgrace the temple. Could it be related to the war sparked by the Free Planet Alliance? Chiu had commissioned a task to hire someone to infiltrate Geller Shipyard and obtain the ship registration data from the information department. This indicated that the temple had received some intelligence suggesting Geller Shipyard was engaged in illegal activities. Recalling Chiu's investigation of the secret factory, some things were not hard to guess. The temple likely believed that Geller Shipyard was colluding with the Free Planet Alliance. Based solely on the industrial capacity of the Outer Rim, building a powerful fleet was nothing short of a pipe dream. So how did the Free Planet Alliance possess so many warships? The answer was simple. Behind the Free Planet Alliance was certainly support from certain powers in the Mid-Rim or even the Inner Rim. I hope Chiu's actions won't affect my mission. Even if they did, Li Meng wouldn't care too much. But Li Meng dreaded trouble and feared losing control of the situation. Should that happen, it would invite more complications. For Li Meng, the fewer troubles and surprises, the better. About half an hour later, Li Meng returned to the maintenance station at Pier 63. When he left, the Pioneer was the only ship in the station. Upon his return, Wire had new guests. 2 small cargo ships were parked on the landing pad. They were not large, each about 30 to 40 meters in length. They had wing structures clearly designed for atmospheric flight. Wire was talking with a pilot about fuel prices and repair costs. Seeing Li Meng return, she ended the conversation and walked over. Hey robot, do you have a name? The Pioneer had been cleaned, its hull surface now bright and smooth as a mirror. My name is Chiu. I know your name, you are Wire. Wire had been about to introduce herself, but Li Meng said it all. Wire understood what had happened. Chiu had hacked into Panpan's database. She had heard rumors of hacker-type robots among machines, and now it proved true. Are you leaving? Yes, but I will return. Keep this landing pad for me, it shouldn't be too long. Though she didn't know what Chiu was about to do, Wire wouldn't pry. Asking would be a very rude thing. Chiu was her benefactor, she had to repay him. I will keep it for you no matter how long. You helped me and I cannot repay you. That makes me uneasy. My mother told me that kindness must be repaid. That is the right path. Kindness must be repaid. That was a good habit indeed, the right path. It was rare for an alien race to share a moral code similar to humans. For this reason alone, Li Meng was happy to help Wire. You have already helped me. Free docking, free cleaning, you have done enough. You have already repaid my help. Wire shook her head. No, this is not enough, far from enough. It still does not offset the debt of gratitude for helping Panpan. Panpan is very important to me, extremely important. This debt is very heavy. I must repay more, only then can my heart find peace. This must be the custom and belief of the little blue people. Li Meng did not dislike it. As you wish. When you feel satisfied, be sure to let me know. Moving forward, Li Meng flew toward the Pioneer. As he approached the side hull, the hatch opened. Before Wire's eyes, Chiu flew into the hatch. Then the hatch closed, leaving no visible seam. Soon a humming vibration was heard. The engines at the tail of Chukia's ship ignited, spewing orange flames. The ship gradually lifted off, reversing outward, passing through the atmospheric shield. The maintenance station was cramped. Flying such a large ship out in reverse required exceptional skill. In the outer space, the Pioneer, having passed the atmospheric shield, adjusted its orientation. The bow pointed downward, the stern upward. A dazzling flash of light burst from the tail engines, emitting a long fiery plume. Under the immense thrust, the Pioneer shot forward like a rocket launching into the sky. Skimming the surface of the lower structure of the orbital dock, the Starship Pioneer flew at an ultra-low altitude. It hugged the dock's underside, accelerating relentlessly. From a distance, looking at the far side of the orbital dock, a streak of fiery light flashed past, hugging its surface. It moved with the speed of a comet, slicing through the starry void. Activate electromagnetic interference mode to prevent catastrophic sensor damage. Numerous sensor arrays on the dock's far side provided uninterrupted surveillance, monitoring the entire area. This was to prevent any intruder from infiltrating critical zones of the orbital dock. Within the cabin, Meng established a connection with the Pioneer's systems. He issued commands to the orb fighters through the ship's internal communication lines. Outside, for launch ports opened on either side of the bow. In the next moment, for spherical orb fighters shot out from the ports. Their design bore a striking resemblance to the fission individuals. They were similarly jade-white spheres adorned with golden runes. However, the runes on the orb fighters were twin vortex sigils representing the disintegrator cannons. The rear hemisphere of each fighter housed 3 coil engines arranged in a circular pattern. These linear coil engines ejected fiery tails that resembled 3 blazing rings of light. Thanks to their lower mass, the orb fighters were faster. They immediately overtook the Pioneer and surged ahead. In less than a dozen seconds, they had distanced themselves so far from the Pioneer that they were nearly out of sight. 4 orb fighters now raced across the far side of the orbital dock. The coil engines at their tails spewed long, brilliant fiery plumes. Suddenly, as they passed a block, the disintegrator cannon runes on the fighters' surfaces flared to life. In the next instant, arcs of golden lightning flashed. Bolts of golden electricity shot out, striking the protruding sensor arrays on the dock's far side. These were hemispherical devices, each about half a meter tall. The orb fighter's attack was precise and methodical. Every bolt of lightning struck a sensor unit. The stricken sensors erupted in showers of sparks and writhing arcs of electricity. The orb fighters advanced relentlessly, accurately targeting the sensors as they flew. From a distance, looking at a section of the dock's far side, one could see 4 blazing streaks of light racing along its surface. Wherever they passed, golden arcs of lightning flickered. Further behind, a platinum-white starship hugged the dock's underside as it swept by. Suddenly, the high-speed orb fighters altered their formation. They converged, positioning themselves diagonally relative to one another. As they drew close, golden arcs of electricity danced across their surfaces. The arcs seemed to attract each other, linking together. In a blaze of golden lightning, the 4 orb fighters connected, locking tightly against one another. Their speed gradually decreased and they began to rotate. Eventually, the linked fighters came to a halt, hovering and spinning in place less than 3 meters from the armored surface of the dock's far side. Golden current surged from the rotating fighters, growing brighter and denser. In that instant, a blinding flash of golden light erupted. A dense torrent of golden arcs surged forth, forming a colossal bolt of lightning that struck the metal wall. Under the sustained bombardment, rings of golden current spread outward across the surface. Wherever the current touched, electronic equipment suffered severe interference, short-circuited or crashed. Indicator lights on the outer layer went out one after another, some even exploding outright. Boom! With a thunderous roar from the sustained assault, the metal wall struck by the blinding golden lightning exploded. The accumulated energy raged directly, melting a hole approximately 2 meters in diameter through the thick metal plating. A powerful gust of air blasted out from the opening, pushing the linked orb fighters down several meters. This movement destabilized the fighters, interrupting their sustained lightning barrage. They disengaged, separating and moving away from the opening from which torrents of air gushed. Behind them, the Pioneer quickly approached. The 50-meter-long vessel executed a 360-degree lateral turn, then pitched upward precisely and securely, plugging the venting hole. The location sealing the opening was precisely the portside hatch. Inside the cabin, the knights were ready. Move out. Set disruptors to stun mode. This mission was merely to retrieve Starship registration data from the Galleon Docks Information Repository. He was neither a pirate nor a merciless killer. Meng had no desire to take lives wantonly just to complete an objective. He would avoid killing whenever possible, even if it meant being wanted. The crime would not be too severe. Even if the Galactic Federation issued a bounty, the sum would not be exorbitant. A lower bounty would help avoid many unnecessary complications. As the hatch opened, 2 knights remained on guard while the other 4 charged out. By now, the core sectors of the orbital dock were in utter chaos. All electronic devices had suddenly short-circuited and failed, systems were offline. More critically, artificial gravity had ceased functioning. The 100-kilometer-long core region was now in a state of weightlessness. Inside the dock, mechanical alarm bells clanged and wailing sirens echoed through the corridors. Numerous staff members in magnetic boots moved about searching for the source of the problems. Security robots had switched to alert mode, intensifying their patrols. Who are you people? Meng and the knights emerged from a corner into a corridor. In the corridor, 2 engineers in silver-grey uniforms were inspecting circuits. 2 security robots followed behind them. The sudden appearance of Meng's group left both parties staring at each other. The engineer's question shattered the brief standoff. The 2 knights in front opened fire first, raising their weapons. F-whip? F-whip? Only the unique shrill sound of the guns rang out. A storm of golden lightning lashed out, a dozen arcs sweeping through the corridor. The 2 engineers were struck first. Their bodies convulsed, golden currents writhing over them. Their limbs stiffened and they fell to the ground with legs stretched out straight. Intruders. Intruders detected. The security robots attempted to return fire, but the knights were faster. As the robots raised their weapons, golden lightning met them head on, striking their mechanical frames. Sparks exploded and arcs danced across the security robots' bodies as they collapsed to the floor. Meng flew forward, stopping before one of the downed robots. A mechanical probe extended, plugging into a port at the back of the robot's head. In under 5 seconds, Meng retracted the probe. It was smooth. From the robot's database, he located the Galleon Dock Central Data Terminal. The team advanced once more. With a detailed map of the core area, they now had a clear direction. Golden arcs of lightning danced through the corridors. Wherever the knights passed, every staff member they encountered was stunned into unconsciousness. The peaceful environment of Galleon had left its security forces at their weakest. Consequently, the chaotic core region was utterly unable to halt the knights' incursion.